3 years ago, Lam Thien witnessed the Earth's rhythms suddenly shift, ushering in the era of spirit chi revival, and the world he knew was thrown onto a completely different path. Humanity immediately scrambled to seek, dissect, and experiment, as everyone wanted to grasp the new power born from the spirit chi, spreading through the world. But right at this moment, he was being cornered by a man and a woman, pushed step by step into a dead end with no escape. Everything was orchestrated by Li Yudong, who secretly set a trap and pushed him into the abyss. The disaster not only claimed his teammates, but he himself couldn't escape it either. The outcome was clear, a fatal accident. Li Yudong, if there's a next life, I will absolutely never forgive you. And as for someone with a heart as wicked as yours, I will make you both pay with your lives, he swore inwardly, his will as cold as steel. But unexpectedly, at the very moment of life and death, a system panel suddenly appeared. The Supreme Martial Arts System activated, detecting that the host was in mortal danger, and immediately initiated a time-space reversal process. Due to the host's insufficient points, the time-space destination will be chosen randomly and cannot be influenced. 3 seconds later, he was pulled back to the very beginning. Even before the global explosion of spirit chi, the Supreme Martial Arts System has successfully bound to the host. Link confirmed. Please select an attribute to begin your cultivation. At this moment, the entire world was still oblivious to the return of spirit chi. In reality, the revival process had already started silently in the background. As spirit chi spread, it nurtured not only humans but also animals and plants, leading to countless mutations. A plethora of high-level spirit fruits would appear, each with its own special effects. After consuming them, a person could attain superhuman powers, capable of even influencing celestial phenomena. The sky could display auroral rainbows, strange constellations, descending fire clouds, and resounding thunder. If he could seize enough of these opportunities, his power would grow immensely. It would only take a month for him to level up. Let's see what functions this system has, he thought, directly opening the system's introduction menu. Welcome, host, to the Supreme Martial Arts System. The following is a description of the system's functions. The system has a total of 4 functions, core attributes, daily quests, attribute cultivation, and point exchange. First, I'll pick the strongest fire attribute and see just how powerful of a technique I can get. Extracting a fire attribute technique for the host. Please wait a moment. Congratulations. Host, you have drawn a purple grade fire attribute technique, the Raging Blaze Art. As this is your first time obtaining a purple grade technique, you have been awarded 5 system points. He couldn't hold back a hearty laugh. A purple grade technique in his past life. Even a blue grade one was enough to cause a sensation, and yet here he was, holding a purple grade technique in his hands. In this life, he would definitely become one of the strongest. He would never let anyone trample over him ever again. Just then, his phone rang repeatedly. I almost forgot about her. He glanced at the screen, where the name Li Hyodong was flashing obnoxiously. Annoyed, he answered the phone. What is it? Lam Thien. There's a bag I like, but I'm short 20,000. Hurry up and send me the money on WeChat. In your dreams. Get lost and go ask your rich daddy's boy. Don't you ever call me again. With that, he hung up abruptly. On the other end of the line, Li Hyodong stared stunned at the blank screen, completely baffled about what had just happened. How dare he hang up on you and talk to you like that? Kwang-Vu asked curiously from the side. What's wrong? Is your personal ATM throwing a fit? Who knows what's wrong with him? Maybe he took the wrong medicine or something. Kwang-Vu teased with a laugh. Aren't you going to go soothe him? Li Hyodong replied with a coquettish pout. The only one I need to soothe is my dear Kwang-Vu. Who cares about that loser anyway? Scene change. Lam Thien stood before the entrance of the People's Hospital, his chest heaving, his breath ragged after a long run. He cursed inwardly. If only he had asked which hospital Vu Tin was in from the start, he wouldn't have had to run to 3 different places without a break. He suddenly remembered how Vu Tin had complained in his past life that her father, thinking she was sick, made her drink all sorts of tonics. Vu Tin, in this life, I won't just protect you, I'll make sure you have no regrets when spiritual energy returns. With that thought, he immediately rushed into the hospital. At that very moment, inside the emergency room, doctors were working frantically on Vu Tin. Her vitals were stable, but her body temperature refused to rise. Hearing this, Vu Tin's father, Mr. Tu, anxiously said to Master Lai, "Master Lai, I'm begging you. Please save my daughter. Let me check her pulse first," Master Lai said as he approached the bed. After checking her pulse, he turned to look at Mr. Tu. "Where has your daughter been recently?" "Last month, to celebrate her getting into Qingbei University. I took her to Iceland. We came back last Wednesday, and as soon as we returned, she ended up like this. Your daughter's body has been invaded by a cold aura. We need an item of pure yang energy to expel the yin energy. I'll write a prescription. Have them fill it out exactly as written." Mr. Tu bowed his head gratefully. "Thank you, Master Lai." Master Lai sighed in reply. "I can only do my best. Whether she can pull through is up to her." Just then, he pushed the door open and walked in. "Stop what you're doing." Mr. Tu was stunned and asked, "And you are?" A young doctor turned and asked, "Master Lai, is this your apprentice?" "No, he's not. I haven't taken any apprentices." Hearing that, the doctor and a few others immediately grabbed him, intending to drag him right out. He struggled and shouted, "Mr. Tu, your daughter isn't sick. She's awakened the extremely rare ice element spiritual energy. If you treat this like an illness, you'll not only destroy her body, but you'll also sever her future," the young doctor said coldly. "Have you been reading too many novels? Is there something wrong with your head? Get him out of here." "Stop." Master Lai suddenly spoke up, stopping them. His eyes were fixed on the young man as he asked, "Kid, how do you know about ice element spiritual energy? Who in the world are you?" He replied with a smile, "Who I am isn't important. The most important thing right now is to help her wake up." "If that's the case, then please, young man, tell us your solution," Master Lai slowly proposed. 2 maces of fresh ginger, 2 maces of aconite root, 5 maces of cinnamon bark, 1 mace of angelica root. Upon hearing this, the doctors and nurses in the emergency room were all stunned. Isn't that the exact prescription Master Lai just wrote? How does this kid know it so perfectly? Some were suspicious, thinking, a prescription this identical must have been copied. Master Lai spoke up. "Young man, your prescription is identical to mine, but it's still not enough to cure young lady too. I'm not finished yet. Don't be so quick to jump to conclusions. This remedy is missing the most crucial ingredient, the stardew flower." Master Lai frowned and said, "Young man, with your method, it is indeed possible to wake young lady too without harming her. However, I'm afraid a stardew flower is impossible to find in this world," Mr. Tu hurriedly said. "I don't care how much the stardew flower costs. Maida family is not short on money. Please just tell me where I can buy it." Master Lai shook his head. "It cannot be bought. The stardew flower is known for its blue, star-shaped petals and a shimmering silver pistil in the center. At night, it emits a faint glow like starlight, and its sap has healing and pain-relieving properties. Those are the records I've read in ancient texts. This flower could only exist when the earth was still filled with spiritual energy, so it can no longer grow in the present day. What? So, my daughter has to suffer like this for the rest of her life." As Mr. Tu fell into despair, the young man spoke up. "Mr. Tu, don't worry. I told you I could save Vu Tin without harming her," Master Lai asked in astonishment. "Young man, are you saying you have the legendary stardew flower?" "That's right," Lam Thien replied. The young doctor said, unconvinced, "Master Lai, Don't listen to this kid's nonsense. How can he possibly save her? He probably peeked at the prescription through a camera. How could a mere kid be better than me? Master Lai retorted. Then how do you explain the Stardew flower? That thing sounds like an item from a video game. Stop arguing. Everyone, take a look at this. As he spoke, he opened a box. Inside was a blue flower that left everyone speechless. In reality, while everyone was busy arguing, Lam Tien had already made his move, ensuring no one noticed his next step. He silently used his divine sense, directly exchanging 5 points to buy the necessary item. The action was clean and without a hint of hesitation. He had retrieved the Stardew flower from the system's shop. It all happened so fast that no one had time to realize. The Stardew flower. It really is the Stardew flower, young man. You actually possess this legendary spirit herb. Faced with Master Lai's excited reaction, he smiled and replied, So, do you believe I can cure Wu Tin now? Young man, I was too agitated just now. I hope you'll forgive me. Please, I beg you, treat the young lady. He walked over to the hospital bed, his gaze softening as he whispered silently in his heart. Wu Tin, in this life, I will never let you suffer any harm at all. Then, he began helping Wu Tin absorb the Stardew flower, his movements decisive and unwavering. The process took only a moment, and it felt as if the entire emergency room was holding its breath with every change. The nurse looked at the vital signs on the monitor and exclaimed with joy, She's warming up. Her body temperature is rising. That's great. She's stabilized. Wu Tin slowly opened her eyes, her vision still blurry, and seeing him standing before her, she asked weakly, Who are you? Get some good rest. We'll see each other again soon. He replied with a smile, then turned to her father. Uncle To. Wu Tin's body has recovered. She just needs to build up her strength now. Thank you, young miracle doctor. Thank you so much, her father said emotionally. With everything settled, he was about to leave when old Lai asked to speak with him privately, but he was refused. Sir, I have other matters to attend to. We can talk later when there's an opportunity. Young brother, this old man still doesn't know your name. My name is Lam Tien, he answered briefly before quickly leaving, heading home to study the secret cultivation technique. He remembered clearly that in his past life, there had been a post that compiled all the important information. The post explained in detail the cultivation levels after the restoration of spiritual energy. After a careful search, he finally pulled up that post from all those years ago. First Realm Spirit Awakening. Characterized by the initial ability to sense and absorb spiritual energy, enhancing one's physical body and basic energy control. Second Realm Springtide, which forms a spiritual vortex, increasing reserves and healing abilities. Third Realm Ironstone, which uses spiritual energy to temper the body, boosting defense and creating shields. Fourth Realm Illusory Moon, which allows for the outward projection of spiritual energy to form skills. Fifth Realm Sun Petal, where spiritual energy is purified, greatly enhancing attacks and healing. Sixth Realm Star Soul, for creating illusions and domains. Seventh Realm Luminous Core, which resonates with heaven and earth. And eighth Realm Imperial Sovereign, which involves mastering the rules and achieving immortality. In his previous life, because the spiritual energy had returned so suddenly, he was killed before he had a chance to prepare. At that time, he had only just reached the third realm, and his bloodline foundation wasn't even stable yet. For that very reason, he was determined to walk a different path in this life. He would definitely cultivate and march straight towards the realm of an imperial sovereign expert. Meanwhile, in a completely different place, old Lai recounted the entire incident in the emergency room to Director Lu An. Are you saying you met a young man who possesses a starlight flower? Could it be that this young man also carries spiritual energy? That's right, Director Lu. I am certain that this young man is a rare genius in spiritual energy cultivation. If he is guided in the right direction, his future self could very well change the state of the entire world. After hearing this, Luan immediately gave a decisive order. Send Lan Nguyet to test Lam Thien. Returning to the main story, after a full day of continuous cultivation, he had made obvious progress. He advanced to the 3rd rank and even touched the threshold of the 2nd rank of the Spirit Awakening realm. And his spiritual energy was now much more stable. I'm starving. I've got to find something to fill my stomach, and fast. The moment he stepped out of his front door, Lan Nguyet immediately dropped an orb onto the ground right in front of him. From it, a demonic beast was summoned, its form materializing in the quiet space. He watched this scene without a hint of panic, his eyes as calm as if he had expected it all along. He even thought to himself excitedly, the age of mutation has truly begun. Everything is accelerating with no brakes. The demonic beast tilted its head back and let out a roar, the sound vibrating through the air. The foul stench from its mouth nearly made him suffocate. This dog stinks to high heaven. Immediately after, the demonic beast shot towards him, its speed like a coiled spring. He instantly jumped back, dodging the attack with a clean move. But the demonic beast wasn't stupid. It observed him and immediately changed its tactics. It whipped its tail, the force of the swing as sharp as a lash. The blow struck his thigh, and a sharp pain spread quickly. He grew angry, pushing off the ground to gain momentum, then launched himself high into the air, activating Flame Fist. With a single blow, he finished his target as clean as a movie cut. 2 colors of the demonic beast. After dealing with it, he continued on his way to the store without stopping. He was simply following his plan, completely unaware that his actions had already fallen right into Lan Nguyet's line of sight. What kind of person is he, to be able to take down and kill a first-stage mutated beast with a single punch? The fire attribute, he actually awakened the strongest offensive element. The fire attribute. Lan Nguyet thought to herself as she leaped down from above, approaching the mutated beast's corpse to inspect it. Its tail is broken. Could it be? That sound just now wasn't his leg bone breaking, but the sound of the mutated beast's tail snapping off. Just how strong is his body? Number 1. I have to report this to my superiors immediately. The next morning. Today. As soon as he woke up, he was in excruciating pain, his whole body feeling like it had been beaten up. It looks like I have to continue my training. Just as he was thinking that, the TV broadcast an emergency news bulletin this morning. The temperature on the peak of Purple Cloud Mountain reached a rare 81 degrees. All visitors to Purple Cloud Mountain, please be mindful of your safety. Please do not believe the rumors that high temperatures can eliminate humidity. Trust in science. This is merely the result of the ozone layer being destroyed, if his memory served him right. The ozone layer at Purple Cloud Mountain wasn't damaged at all. That place was where an incredibly powerful fire attribute spiritual energy had just awakened. In that case, he absolutely had to go there and absorb that powerful fire attribute spiritual energy. The moment he stepped out the door, he ran into trouble. Lai Hio Dong held out her hand, asking for 200,000 to buy a handbag, her face completely unfazed as if it were a normal request. He snapped. Are you out of your mind? I told you yesterday not to bother me again. Lam Thien, I know you're doing this on purpose to get me interested in you, but I'm warning you, if you don't obediently hand over the money right now, I really won't let this go. Get lost, and it's best if you don't bother me. He tossed the words over his shoulder and walked away, heading straight for Purple Cloud Mountain. A large crowd of curious onlookers had already gathered there, forcing the police to set up a barricade to block everyone from going deeper into the mountain. Please be careful. Do not cross the warning line. It's really 81 degrees inside. We're not joking around. You could actually be burned to a crisp. What kind of nonsense is this? I don't believe it's that hot in there, a hot-headed young man said angrily before flicking a corn cob into the area. Unexpectedly, due to the intense heat, the corn kernel instantly popped into popcorn, shocking the onlookers. Whoa. It's really that hot. Stop pushing. It's seriously hot in there, just as he predicted. The fire attribute energy here was much stronger than he had imagined. If he could devour all of this energy, his power would leap to another level right here on the spot. With that thought, Lam Thien immediately took action. launching himself from the roof of a car and straight into the restricted zone without a moment's hesitation. His movements were so fast and reckless that the police on site couldn't react in time. After enduring a period of extreme agony, it felt as if every cell in his body was being licked by flames. Finally, the process of absorbing the spiritual energy came to an end. Only then did he realize there were people around him. Thousands of eyes were all fixed on him. In the next moment, he transformed into a streak of fire and vanished in a flash. An immortal. It's an immortal. Did anyone get a picture of the immortal just now? What happened? It was scorching hot a second ago. Why did it suddenly cool down? The police officer stood there stunned. A thought flashing through his mind, could that kid really be an immortal? News of the KK immortal quickly spread across all media channels. This afternoon, a mysterious young man appeared on the peak of Purple Cloud Mountain, resolved the anomalous climate phenomenon, and then vanished right before everyone's eyes. After reading the news, Liu An immediately made a call and gave an order. Suppress all news related to Purple Cloud Mountain immediately. Do not let it spread under any circumstances, or it will cause mass panic. Then he turned to Lan Nguyen, who was standing behind him, and asked, "Last night, you saw that kid take out a first-stage mutated dog with a single punch. Is that correct?" "Yes, that's right. Moreover, the mutated dog's attack seemed to do no damage to his body whatsoever. It seems that in just 2 short days, we've encountered 2 geniuses in a row. We can't let other factions get to him first. We have to bring Lam Thien into the organization as soon as possible." With that in mind, Liu An immediately ordered Lan Nguyen to take him to meet Lam Thien. Meanwhile, he had just finished cultivating to the Valiant Spring Realm. Congratulations, host, for entering the Valiant Spring Realm. Your reward is a new attribute slot. The host can now cultivate an additional attribute simultaneously, and the system is activating the enchantment function. The host can permanently imbue a weapon with an element. Its durability will depend on the weapon's material. Does this mean I can craft my own elemental weapons? Excited, he walked into the kitchen and picked up a chicken cleaver, just as he was about to enchant it. The doorbell rang. Who could possibly be visiting in the middle of the night? He opened the door and asked suspiciously, "Who are you?" "Young man, I am the president of the Spirit Chi Cultivation Association, and my name is Liu An. The young woman beside me is my subordinate, Lan Nguyen. We've come to talk to you about Spirit Chi cultivation." After speaking, Liu An handed him a business card. The name Spirit Chi Cultivation Association suddenly jogged his memory. In his past life, he and Vu Tin had once been saved by members of the Spirit Chi Cultivation Association. He was saved by them in his past life, but he'd had no contact with them in this one. Looking at the card in his hand, he asked, "How did you find me?" Liu An replied, "Old Lai, the one who treated the young lady from the De family, mentioned you. By the way, Vu Tin has already joined our Spirit Chi Association." Realizing they meant no harm, he invited them inside to talk. A while later, Liu An said with some disappointment, "Young man, are you sure you won't consider joining us? Old Liu, now isn't a good time for me to join an organization." Lam Thien stated his intentions plainly for now. He wanted to cultivate on his own and would consider other options only after the Spirit Qui had fully recovered. Lan Nguyen finally spoke up. "Lam Thien, I know you've become a first-stage awakener, but let me tell you, reaching the Spirit Initiation Realm was nothing but pure luck. Without the Association's help, it's doubtful you'll ever even reach the Valiant Spring Realm." She gave a brief analysis, explaining that the Earth would undergo drastic changes in the future, and Spirit Chi cultivation would be the only path forward. To make steady progress, the Association's guidance would be indispensable. She recounted her own experience, saying that at first, she was just like him, believing she could awaken on her own and refusing the Association's invitation. As a result, nearly 3 years passed, and she still hadn't reached the Spirit Initiation Realm. But after joining the Association, she broke through to the Spirit Initiation Realm in less than a year. With our current resources and guidance, You could reach the second stage of the Valiant Spring Realm in just 3 years. Hearing this, he asked with a hint of surprise. 3 years, miss. How old are you this year? I'm about to turn 21. Why? He silently judged her talent to be quite poor, but quickly dismissed the thought, forcing a smile. Oh, nothing. I just think you're a genius, Lan Nguyet said proudly. In the entire Cultivation Association, being a genius is just the minimum requirement for entry. Liu An added, young man, if you join our association, the support you'll receive will be beyond your imagination. Just as he was trying to persuade him, his phone rang with an urgent report about the appearance of a second-stage mutated beast. Its location was only about 30 kilometers from the city they were in. What second stage? What's its attribute? It's still unclear, but we suspect it has a poison attribute. The creature itself is a giant python. I understand. Lock down the surrounding area immediately. I'm bringing Lan Nguyet there right now. With that, Liu An stood up to take his leave and departed quickly with Lan Nguyet. He stood by the window and watched them go, a new resolve welling up inside him. In this life, he had to become stronger so he wouldn't repeat the regrets of his past. He assessed his current strength, which was only at the initial stage of the Valiant Spring Realm. The path to leveling up was clearly not going to be easy. He began to wonder if there were any other places where Fire Attribute Spirit Key existed. While he was looking at a map on his phone, it suddenly rang. It was Thoi Tien Bang. The moment he answered, his friend screamed, "Brother Lamb, help me. My villa is haunted." "Are you crazy haunted? What do you mean, haunted, Brother Lamb?" "I'm not kidding. The mountain behind my villa has been struck by lightning all day, but there hasn't been a single drop of rain. Could it be a rare lightning attribute spirit key awakener?" Thinking of that possibility, he urged, "Thoi, describe the lightning situation over there for me," hiding in his house. Thoi Tien Bang's face was pale as he watched the constant flashes of lightning outside. His voice trembled as he said, "It's pitch black over here, and the lightning won't stop, Brother Lamb. You have to save me." Hearing the description, he immediately confirmed that this was the phenomenon of a lightning attribute spirit chi awakening. He quickly reviewed his knowledge. Spirit chi was divided into 3 grades, and the common attributes were water, fire, wind, and earth. Rare attributes include ice, light, dark, and lightning. The only legendary attribute is void. If he could add the lightning attribute to his new attribute slot, he'd be rich, he thought gleefully, then told Thoi Tien Bang he was on his way. "For now, surround that mountain. Don't let anyone in. You got that." Meanwhile, in another location, a group of 3, led by Lai Kai, was also rushing towards the mountain near Thoi Tien Bang's home. Their goal was to collect all the lightning attribute spiritual energy before the situation got out of control. When he arrived, he couldn't hide his joy at the sight of the swirling thunder and lightning. It really is lightning attribute spiritual energy. I've hit the jackpot. He immediately opened his system panel and added the lightning attribute to the empty slot. Notification. The lightning attribute is a rare type. It requires twice the spiritual energy of a normal attribute. Are you sure you want to proceed? The moment he confirmed, a series of notification panels popped up. Preparing for the host, he immediately proceeded to draw a lightning attribute cultivation technique. His actions decisive and without hesitation. Congratulations, host, you have obtained a cultivation technique. Blue rarity lightning attribute, rushing thunder art. As expected of a rare attribute, even though it's just a blue rarity technique, its power is beyond imagination. Lightning spiritual energy. Here I come. At the same time, Lai Kai's group was also approaching the area of the lightning spiritual energy. The giant pillar of lightning before them made the air heavy. The 2 young men with her couldn't hide their fear. "Sis, can we really control this thing?" "Yeah, sis. Are you sure this spirit gathering bottle is good enough?" "Enough nonsense. Give it to me." Lai Kai took the spirit gathering bottle from their hands. She took a deep breath and opened the bottle's lid. The bottle seemed to have a powerful suction, and the pillar of lightning was immediately pulled inside. "Go, boss, go. You're amazing, boss." While the two were still cheering, something unexpected happened. The bottle couldn't handle the immense spiritual energy, and a clear crack appeared on its surface. Fortunately, one of them managed to tackle Lai Kai out of the way just before the bottle exploded. "Run. The spiritual energy is out of control." Just as Lai Kai's group was about to retreat, he appeared on the mountainside. "What's a kid like you doing climbing up the mountain? Get out of here. This isn't a place for ordinary people." Ignoring Lai Kai's warning, he charged straight ahead with explosive speed. The wind swirled around him as he plunged directly into the center of the lightning energy. Watching him get struck by lightning and still remain standing, the sight left Lai Kai's group completely stunned. How is he that tough? Could he actually be some kind of immortal? Why is he completely unharmed? Could it be he's awakened? An awakening to the ultra-rare lightning spiritual energy. A moment later, the pillar of lightning gradually faded away. The process of absorbing the spiritual energy was officially complete. In addition to gaining a new attribute, he had also managed to fuse the two types of spiritual energy he already possessed. Through this, he formed the legendary attribute Lightning Flame. Meanwhile, Lan Nguyet led two other people into an abandoned factory. This was the place the mutant python was known to frequent. As soon as they entered, she handed each person a jade pendant and instructed them, "If you're in danger, crush this to create a light attribute shield to protect your life. During this operation, survival is the top priority. Do not force anything under any circumstances." "Understood." "Understood," the two replied in unison. "Move out," Lan Nguyet commanded. The moment she set foot inside the factory, Lan Nguyet suddenly caught sight of a pair of cold eyes appearing in the darkness, and a sense of danger immediately gripped her nerves. Two crimson pupils flashed right behind her teammates, its killing intent pouring out, completely unconcealed. Fortunately, she managed to shout a warning just in time. If she had been a second later, the other two would have hardly survived. Hearing her voice, her teammate dodged by a hair's breadth, cold sweat breaking out on his back. Almost simultaneously, he counterattacked, sending hidden weapons whistling through the air straight toward the giant python. Lan Nguyet immediately channeled her energy, activating her own attribute. The ice attribute erupted, and a frigid aura spread out, instantly freezing the mutant python in place. Thinking they had it under control, the situation seemed to be in hand for a moment, but only a few seconds passed before the ice layer cracked and shattered as the python let out a low growl and forcibly broke free. It raised its head, opened its massive maw, and spewed a blast of cold, dark energy straight ahead. That aura enveloped Lan Nguyet's entire group, tearing their vision and consciousness to shreds. "Headquarters, come in. Headquarters. The giant python is out of control." Before Lan Nguyet could even finish her sentence, her entire body went limp. Her consciousness faded and quickly slipped into the void. A short while later, inside a white truck parked outside the factory, Luan looked at him and said in a grave voice, "Young man, I'm begging you, right now, you're the only one capable of resolving this crisis." He didn't answer right away. His eyes were glued to the laptop screen, reading information about the giant dark python as he silently considered. A dark attribute. Another rare one. What a shame. If my attribute slots weren't already full, I'd want to claim it for myself. Liu An spoke again. Lan Nguyet's condition is unknown. Life or death. Our only hope now is you, the one who awakened the fire attribute. He narrowed his eyes slightly, looking directly at Liu An and asking, "Director Liu, how did you know I awakened the fire attribute?" Realizing his slip of the tongue, Liu An awkwardly scratched his head and explained with a laugh. "I had Lan Nguyet follow you before. She witnessed you eliminate the mutant dog with her own eyes." Hearing this, he immediately understood. That mutant dog had been intentionally released by Liu An's side to test him. So he asked bluntly, You had people following me, Liu An explained. It was all for the safety of the people. I hope you can understand. He held up one finger and said, I can go to the factory and eliminate that python, but you have to promise you'll stop monitoring me. Liu An clasped his hands and replied firmly, You have my word. Young man, how many people do you need? I'll dispatch them immediately. He stood up, rotated his wrists, and stretched his limbs before saying, No need. I'm enough on my own. At that same moment, inside the abandoned factory, a blood-curdling scream echoed, tearing through the space and pulling Lan Nguyen back to consciousness. She opened her eyes and looked forward, and the scene that unfolded made her heart feel like it was being squeezed. The giant dark python had swallowed a person whole, its body grotesquely swollen. Its aura skyrocketed accordingly, and an immense pressure spread throughout the area. This giant python actually evolves by devouring cultivators. It absolutely cannot be allowed to succeed, or the entire surrounding area will suffer a terrible disaster. With that thought, Lan Nguyen gritted her teeth, forcing her body to stand up. The dark giant python immediately locked onto her, lunging forward with its mouth wide open, intending to swallow its next target. Bring it on. She silently steeled her will, preparing to face the moment of life and death. A cold aura erupted from Lan Nguyen's hands as her ice attribute quickly condensed into a sharp spike, which shot through the air straight toward the dark giant python. Just a second later, her eyes widened as she witnessed that very ice spike shatter in midair, without leaving so much as a scratch on the dark giant python's body. And it didn't stop there. It swung its tail violently, swatting her and sending her flying. Lan Nguyen crashed to the ground, spitting out several mouthfuls of fresh blood, whispering in despair, How can this be? I can't believe it successfully evolved. It's over. There's no stopping it now. Just then, a grumbling voice suddenly came from the entrance. Oh crap. It was only after I came in that I remembered, isn't this rundown factory the place I worked at after high school? The boss still owes me 1 month's salary. What rotten luck. Lan Nguyen turned her head to look, and when she recognized the person who had just appeared, she blurted out in shock, Lam Thien. He looked at her and asked, Director Liu told me to get everyone out. Where are the others? Lan Nguyen shouted in a panic, Run. You're no match for it. It's already evolved to Tier 3. He casually cleaned out his ear and said, all right, I got it. The person being rescued should just wait patiently. Don't run around, okay? After speaking, he turned his gaze to the dark giant python. Let's see what you've really got. Sensing the provocation, the dark giant python immediately opened its mouth wide and lunged straight for him. Lan Nguyen cried out worriedly, Lam Thien, run. But in the blink of an eye, she was stunned to see him vanish from his spot like a flash of lightning. When he reappeared, he was already right in front of the dark giant python's head. Lightning descended, its ferocious power crushing the darkness, laughing as he spoke. He channeled his strength and threw a punch straight into the dark giant python's head. The blow sent it flying backward, its body slamming hard against the wall before crashing heavily to the ground. Stunned by the hit, the dark giant python immediately realized its opponent was not to be trifled with and prepared to escape. Realizing its intention, Lan Nguyen quickly shouted, Lam Thien, don't let it get away. Don't worry, there's no escape for it today. With that, he drew the sword strapped to his back. At the same time, he activated his system's enchantment function, imbuing the blade with the lightning element. Lightning exploded forth as he swung the sword down, a thunderous strike that directly finished off the dark giant python. He said calmly, all done. Lan Nguyen's eyes widened in astonishment as she asked, Have you already awakened your attributes? He turned his head to look at her. Considering it for a moment, according to his memories, the Spirit Cultivator Association had never done anything wrong, only helping ordinary people through difficult times. With that thought, he readily admitted, Yeah, I've now awakened 2 attributes, fire and lightning. Hearing his answer, Lan Nguyen thought to herself, This guy is definitely going to become a super powerful expert in the future. Not long after, inside a truck parked outside the factory, Lan Nguyet was reporting to Lu An. Director, Lam Thien personally admitted it. He has awakened 2 attributes, lightning and fire. Liu An lowered his head in thought, murmuring softly, no wonder he requested that we stop monitoring him. At the same time, he silently made a decision in his heart, a genius. Like this must be brought into the Spirit Cultivator Association. Lan Nguyet asked cautiously, Director, should we continue to monitor him then? Liu An didn't answer directly, just smiled and said, My dear girl, it's about time you found yourself a boyfriend. Hearing this, Lan Nguyet was stunned. The next morning, a meeting was held at the Spirit Cultivator Association. Liu An sat at the head of the table, with a row of people in suits to his right and a row of people in uniforms to his left. At that moment, the young man in a suit at the head of his row spoke up. Director Liu, regarding the matter of the spirit energy revival, we should announce it to the public. There have been one incident after another recently. We can't keep treating all of them as mere accidents. The middle-aged man in uniform immediately retorted, Are you out of your mind if we hastily announce this? Do you have any idea how much trouble it will cause? If we had announced it earlier, what happened at the factory yesterday would have been a completely different story. The middle-aged man in the uniform spoke up. Didn't we already handle that incident at the factory? The young man in the suit shot up from his seat and snarled, You handled it. Wasn't it those kids you called in who actually solved the problem? The middle-aged man in the uniform also flared up, jumping to his feet and pointing a finger right in the other man's face, shouting, What did you just say? Liu An immediately cut them off. All right, that's enough arguing. Hearing that, the 2 men fell silent and turned in unison to look at Liu An. Director Liu. Chief, Liu An looked at the young man in the suit and said, Lie. Sit down. Sit down. You're right. If it weren't for young Lam Thien's help yesterday, not only would I have lost my family and my subordinates, but all the civilians in the area would have been in grave danger. With that, he stood up, turned, and pointed to the large screen behind him. But, as you've all said, if we hastily announce the spiritual energy resurgence, it will undoubtedly cause massive social chaos. So, I have a proposal. The areas I've marked are where spiritual energy has recently resurfaced. We'll select them as test sites, promote them as tourist destinations, and monitor the results before deciding on our next move. What do you all think? Well, the young man in the suit spoke up. All right, let's go with Director Liu's plan and give it a try. The middle-aged man in the uniform chimed in, as expected of the director, to come up with such a clever solution. Liu An said, If no one has any other objections, let's move on to the next matter. You all witnessed the strength of young Lam Thien yesterday. I want to invite him to join the Spirit Cultivator Association. I plan on making him the captain of a cultivation team. What are your thoughts on that? The middle-aged man in the uniform said. Director Liu, I don't object to him joining, but isn't giving him such a high position right from the start a bit much? The young man in the suit agreed. That's right. Nobody gets a high-ranking position right after joining. He should start from the bottom. Liu An explained. You all saw his power yesterday. He's an awakener with dual attributes of lightning and fire. I'm worried that if we place him in too low a position, not only will he be unhappy, but we could easily offend a very capable person, the young man in the suit suggested. Since Director Liu puts it that way, please arrange a test for him. The middle-aged man also agreed. That's right. Set up a test. It takes more than just strength to be the captain of a cultivation team. After hearing them, Liu An frowned and said with a hint of concern, Oh, you're the ones who said it. Just don't come to regret this later. Not long after, at Lam Thien's house. He was sleeping soundly when a noise from the kitchen woke him up. The strange sound instantly put him on high alert. Could a burglar have broken into my house? I'm so broke, I'm eating the cheapest instant noodles, and someone still dares to rob me when I catch him. I'll definitely make him regret it, muttering to himself. He stormed into the kitchen and shouted, "You audacious thief, bow your head and admit your mistake now," in the kitchen. Lan Nguyen was cleaning up. Seeing him enter, she said calmly, "Hello?" He froze, reflexively raising his hand in response. "Hello." A moment later, he snapped back to his senses and shouted angrily, "Wait a minute, what are you doing in my house? Didn't you say yesterday that you wouldn't follow me anymore?" Lan Nguyen continued cleaning and said, "I'm not here to follow you, I'm here to live with you." "Where's the trash can?" He was stunned again, blurting out, "Huh." A while later, after she finished explaining, he asked, "So you guys want me to participate in some kind of trial?" Lan Nguyen nodded and said, "Yes." He closed his eyes to think. The full spiritual energy eruption is only 3 days away. I can't waste time on a trial. With that thought, he said, "I'm not going. I'm not interested." Lan Nguyen tried to persuade him. "Lam Thien, I know you think the trial will slow down your cultivation, but this is a trial the association specially prepared for cultivators. Not only will new members be participating, but the trial location has also recently experienced a spiritual energy resurgence. The level isn't high, but there's a good chance you could find a great opportunity there." He suddenly remembered her mentioning that Tu Vu Tin had joined. So he asked, "Let me ask you something. Is Tu Vu Tin participating in this trial?" Lan Nguyen replied, "She'll be going too." "Why?" He lowered his head and thought to himself, "I remember she said she found a great opportunity there. I wonder what it could be. I should go check it out." Having made his decision, he looked up at Lan Nguyen and said, "It just so happens I need to see her about something. I'll participate in the trial this time." The next morning, at the assembly point, Luan stood before the ranks of new members and said, "You may have all grown accustomed to a peaceful life, but I must make it clear, the world will not remain peaceful for much longer. When that time comes, sacrifice will become a daily occurrence. In a moment, I will introduce you to a powerful spiritual energy cultivator who will be your captain and lead you in this trial." In the ranks, Lai Kai recalled the events of the previous night, wondering to herself where that person could have possibly disappeared to. Then she thought about how her superiors didn't believe her report and even scolded her for it, which made her expression turn sour. Lu Thien Phuong, standing next to her, saw this and asked with a smile, "Sister Kai, what are you thinking about?" Lai Kai replied, "Nothing." He briefly wondered who the new captain might be, but quickly dismissed the thought as the tension before the assembly remained thick. Lu Thien Phuong sneered, "Humph, some captain. It's probably just some rich kid here to coast by." He finished with a contemptuous smirk. He continued arrogantly, "When that brat shows up, I'll teach him a lesson so he knows who's really in charge here." The two lackeys behind him immediately chimed in. "Our big brother is the best." "So cool, big brother," Lai Kai interjected, her voice low but clear. "I suggest you behave yourself and stop looking for trouble." The atmosphere grew even heavier because of it. Elsewhere, Lam Thien was the first to arrive. Lan Nguyen handed him a tablet and said, "This is the team you'll be leading. There are 5 members in total, 2 women and 3 men." He quickly scrolled through and took it all in silently. Lan Nguyen continued to remind him that he needed to watch out for this guy named Lu Thien Phuong. He used to be a gang enforcer and suddenly awakened his wind attribute spiritual energy, but his personality is still as difficult to control as ever. After hearing this, he just replied, Yeah, I know." Before long, the two of them arrived at the assembly point. As soon as Liu An saw them, he laughed and announced, "Your captain is here," his voice echoing clearly across the field. Hearing that, everyone immediately turned their heads, their gazes all locking onto one spot, and the atmosphere suddenly fell dead silent. Tu Vu Tin froze in her heart. Isn't that the person my father said saved me? Lai Kai also recognized him right away. It's him, the guy who got struck by lightning on the mountain that day. Liu An raised his hand to introduce him. This is your captain, Lam Thien. But before he could finish his sentence, he was cut off by a sharp voice. Wait a minute. Liu An frowned and stared straight at the man. Lu Thien Fuang. Do you have a problem? His voice dropped noticeably. He replied without any hesitation. Director Lu, what kind of power does this kid have? Shouldn't you let us see a few of his moves? Otherwise, when we're in the field, who's supposed to listen to who? He chuckled softly, his eyes cold. Oh, and how do you propose I demonstrate? His voice was light, but sharp. Lu Thien Fuang sneered and took half a step forward, his provocative expression obvious. Naturally, you'll have to test your skills against us, he spoke with contempt. A mere first awakening realm. Scrub like you is worthy of fighting me. The words echoed through the crowd. You little brat, you're asking for a beating, Lu Thien Fuang roared in anger, his breath coming in short gasps. He immediately activated his wind attribute ability, and the spiritual energy around his body fluctuated visibly. Without hesitation, he charged straight at him and threw a punch, the wind whistling as it tore through the air. Facing the attack, he just said flatly, "Is that all you've got?" His attitude was chillingly calm, just as he was about to counterattack and teach his opponent a lesson. Liu An rushed forward, directly blocking Lu Thien Fuang's punch. His face darkened, and his stern voice rang out. Lu Thien Fuang, do you dare disobey the organization's orders? He was startled and quickly explained. Director Lu, I didn't mean it like that. But if he wants to be the captain, he has to have some real strength. Right. His words tumbled out in a rush. He even turned to stir up the others. Otherwise, the team won't respect him. Right. He then glanced at his two lackeys, who chimed in. That's right. Director Lu, for us cultivators, strength is everything. If this new captain can't prove his real power, it'll be hard to win our respect. Liu An spoke decisively. You don't need to worry about little brother Lam Thien's strength. Just a few days ago, he single-handedly defeated the dark giant serpent and saved Lan Nguyet. Lai Kai couldn't help but cry out. What he saved Sister Lan all by himself. The shock on her face was impossible to hide. Lu Thien Fuang snorted in annoyance. I bet he just got lucky. How could anyone defeat a monster as strong as the dark giant serpent alone? Liu An immediately restored order. All right, everyone, line up anyone else who disrupts the rules of this test. I will personally expel from the association. You will all behave. Next, I will announce the details of the test. Listen carefully, he announced briefly. The objective of this test is to deal with a creature called the Terrifying Kick Beast. According to the information our association has gathered, this creature not only has a humanoid form, but can also move freely, he added with emphasis. When you all stepped onto this path of cultivation, sacrifice became your constant companion. The atmosphere immediately grew solemn. A few minutes later, the new members were divided into small teams and entered the forest, officially beginning the test. His team had a full 6 members, including himself, Li Kai, Tavu Tin, Lu Thien Fuang, and his 2 lackeys. After scouting for a while, he thought to himself, this is the designated location for the test. But where's the monster? Could it be hiding underground? Just then, Tavu Tin looked towards a prominent large tree up ahead and asked, Captain Lam, do we have to go over there? He focused his senses on the large tree. The spiritual energy grew denser the closer they got, but a question still lingered in his mind. Why haven't we found the monster Director Lu mentioned? After a moment of contemplation, he spoke decisively. For our own safety, we shouldn't get too close to that tree. He gave another order. Continue searching for clues about the monster around here. Lai Kai and Tu Vu Tin replied in unison. Yes, Captain Lam. Lu Thien Fuang immediately started mocking him. Captain Lamb, don't tell me you're scared. What? Are you afraid that big tree is going to stand up and attack you? His two lackeys behind him laughed along. Ha ha ha. That's hilarious. Brother Lu. He didn't even bother to get angry, just warned him coldly. I've already warned you. If you insist on ignoring my advice, you'll have to bear the consequences yourself. He snorted. I want to see for myself what kind of damn thing is over there. With that, he led his two lackeys straight towards the large tree. As they got closer, Lu Tianpuang let out a soft gasp of surprise. Could this big tree be some kind of treasure? Why does it have such powerful spiritual energy? One of his lackeys said excitedly. Boss, the spiritual energy here is so rich, if we cultivate here, we'll definitely level up an image immediately formed in Lu Tianpuang's mind. If I absorb all the spiritual energy here and successfully advance to the third Valiant Selection realm, then even Lan Nguyet will have to listen to me. A fleeting image of him embracing her flashed through his mind. The thought was gone as quickly as it came, but he couldn't hide the heat rising in his face. Lu Tianpuang's face was flushed as he shouted urgently. Brothers, while the spiritual energy is this rich, let's start cultivating immediately. His breath was heavy with excitement. As soon as he finished speaking, the three of them quickly sat down close to the large tree, calmed their minds, and began to draw the spiritual energy into their bodies. Lam Thian led the other three in a different direction. Tu Vu Tin still asked worriedly, Captain Lam, will they be all right? Her eyes followed them from behind. As they walked, Lai Kai asked, Captain Lam, have we met before a few days ago? Her voice held a hint of hesitation. He glanced at her and replied, Have we? I don't recall. Where was it? Lai Kai quickly reminded him. Oh, it was on the mountain that got struck by lightning the other night. He suddenly remembered and said, Oh, so that was you. Were you camping there that day? His tone was casual. Lai Kai immediately got annoyed and said loudly, Camping? What camping? I was sent there to deal with the lightning spirit energy outbreak. It's all because of you, Captain Lam, that I got chewed out by my superiors for hours. She continued, I told them there was a man absorbing the lightning energy, but they just said I was hallucinating after hearing her out. He could only say, helplessly, sorry. Then, he looked at the two girls and said, You two should also sit down and cultivate. With so much rich spiritual energy here, we shouldn't let it go to waste. Tu Vu Tin looked up and asked, Aren't you going to cultivate? Her voice soft but clear. He smiled inwardly, thinking she was just as gentle as she was in his past life. The memory flashed by in an instant. He explained briefly, The spiritual energy here doesn't suit my attributes. You guys go ahead and cultivate. Don't worry about me. But before the group could even sit down, they heard screams for help coming from the large tree. Without hesitating, the three of them immediately turned and rushed back. Over where Lu Tianpuang was, the large tree was no longer calm, and the spiritual energy around it was fluctuating violently. His two subordinates were wrapped tightly in branches, their bodies hoisted high into the air as they struggled in desperation. Lu Tianpuang's voice trembled as he cried out, What's happening? Why are the branches moving on their own? His eyes filled with panic. His two men screamed in terror. Boss, save me! I don't want to die! Their cries echoing through the area. I'm coming to help you. Lu Tianpuang gritted his teeth, trying to steady his own nerves. With a loud roar, he drew his weapon as spiritual energy surged around his body. He simultaneously activated his wind attribute powers, rushing forward to slash fiercely at the branch binding one of his men. The slash severed the restraint, and the subordinate fell to the ground, safe for the moment. But just then, he heard a panicked shout. Boss, watch your left. Lu Tianpuang quickly turned his head and saw another branch whipping straight toward him. Having put all his strength into the previous attack, he couldn't dodge or block in time, and the branch sent him flying before he crashed heavily to the ground. Seeing several more branches stabbing toward him, he thought despairingly of the warning about the path of cultivation that sacrifice was always part of it. Only then did he understand why Director Liu had said those words. It all happened too fast. A final thought flashed through his mind. Am I going to die here? And a chill ran through his heart. Just then, a flash of lightning tore through the air as he rushed forward just in time, directly neutralizing the immediate danger. Lu Tianfuang's eyes widened in astonishment as he choked out, "You," his voice trailing off. He said calmly, "Get out of here." His words short but firm. Lu Tianfuang struggled to his feet and replied, "I can't just abandon my men and run." His gaze resolute. He glanced at him and said, "So you do have a sense of honor after all?" Lu Tianfuang immediately shot back. "Nonsense, a man has to live by a code." He said no more, silently bending down to pick up the dagger that had fallen on the ground. He channeled his lightning and fire energy, covering the blade in it, and its aura changed instantly. Lu Tianfuang asked doubtfully, What are you doing?" His eyes fixed on his hand. He didn't answer. With a flick of his wrist, the dagger tore through the air, flying straight toward the large tree. The blade sliced through the branches, binding the remaining subordinate, freeing him. The man joyfully cried out, "Boss Captain Lamb, thank you both for saving me." The large tree, however, suddenly let out a strange howl as its entire aura skyrocketed. He said in a low voice, "Go. Now this monster is about to reveal its true form." The next second, the ground beneath them began to shake violently, and Lu Tianfuang's entire group staggered, feeling as if they were about to be thrown off their feet. The reason was clear. The large tree had pulled all its roots from the ground and stood upright. Its features now perfectly matched the trial's target, the terrifying legged beast that Lu An had mentioned. To be precise, it was a true, vengeful spirit. Trent, a third-stage valiant tier beast. Lu Tianfuang's jaw dropped as he exclaimed, "What in the world is this monster?" Lam Thien appeared at the front, his voice cold. "Have you already forgotten what Director Liu told you? This path of cultivation was always meant to be one of life and death." He continued, "If you're scared, then get off this path." His words sharp and unforgiving. Across from them, the vengeful spirit Trent officially made its move. It swung its two long, thick arms straight at Lan Nguyen, but she skillfully dodged every single attack, and none of them landed. Immediately after, the vengeful spirit Trent changed its attack pattern. From its body, waves of branches shot out as if they had a life of their own. They transformed into sharp spears, stabbing simultaneously toward him. He raised an eyebrow this time. He didn't dodge, but stood his ground, his eyes locked on the target. As the branches closed in, a fierce flame erupted from his body, incinerating them all before rapidly spreading back toward the vengeful spirit Trent. He took advantage of the moment his opponent was distracted by the flames. He immediately unleashed a lightning flame technique. Lu Tianfuang cried out in shock. Damn it, how could he be this strong? Lai Kai couldn't hide his astonishment either, so this is the power of someone with the lightning attribute. Tu Vu Tin blushed as she looked at him, her mind involuntarily picturing heroes from novels, walking on rainbow-colored clouds. This must be it. Meanwhile, in the monitoring room, the group observing his fight couldn't help but marvel. This guy named Lam Thien, how does he possess such power? Liu An glanced at the others and asked, "Does anyone still have any objections about Lam Thien being the team leader?" The young man in the suit chuckled and replied, "None at all, none at all. We'll follow Director Liu's decision completely." Suddenly, another tremor struck, throwing the entire monitoring room into chaos as everyone cried out in panic. Lan Nguyen approached Liu An and asked quietly, "Director Liu, this spiritual energy, could it be?" Liu An's expression turned grim as she replied, "It seems we can't hide this any longer. The Earth's spiritual energy has fully recovered. The rules of the world are about to change." Back on the battlefield, he used the system to check the Phantom Tree Demon's information, quickly connecting all the clues in his mind. He recalled what Vu Tin had said in his past life, that there was a great opportunity here. She has the ice attribute. while this monster is a wood attribute. Just then, a pillar of light erupted from behind the phantom tree demon's body. As everyone got closer, they discovered a cave that was continuously spewing out ice elemental spiritual energy. He suddenly understood, so that's how it is. Because the Earth's spiritual energy has fully recovered, such a powerful source of ice attribute energy has appeared here. In the previous life, Wutin wasn't strong enough to absorb this amount of spiritual energy. That's why she missed this opportunity. In the present, Wutin stared at the ice cave in amazement and spoke. "Leader Lamb, you're amazing." A single punch made the surrounding spiritual energy explode like that. He looked at her and said, "Wutin, go into that cave and absorb the surging ice attribute energy. It can help you become much stronger." He thought to himself, "Wutin, in this life, we both must become strong, so that the man and woman who harmed us in our past life will pay the price." To Wutin replied, "Okay." Then, he explained to the others, "A powerful source of ice attribute energy has appeared here. Since Wutin has an ice attribute, I'm letting her take this chance to cultivate. Let's just wait for her for a bit." Everyone nodded and agreed. That evening, the group of 6 chose a restaurant to celebrate the end of their trial with a small party. The whole table cheered in unison, congratulating Wutin on successfully breaking through the first Brave Recruit realm and entering the third Brave Recruit realm. As their glasses clinked together merrily, Wutin smiled and said, "I have to thank Leader Lamb and everyone for this success." Her voice a mix of joy and shyness. Lu Tianfuang took the initiative to pour a drink for Lam Tian and said, "Leader Lam, I was blind before and failed to recognize your greatness. I hope you can forgive my past mistakes." He replied, "It's fine. You didn't abandon your comrades to save yourself during a crisis, which proves you're loyal and brave. A true man." Lu Tianfuang, moved to the verge of tears, said, "Leader Lamb, thank you for treating a nobody like me as a friend. From now on, my life belongs to you." He had to say, "There's no need for that. From now on, we're all brothers." Together, before he could finish, a shout echoed from a distance. "Everyone, leave this area immediately." The atmosphere instantly changed. The voice continued urgently, "Everyone, evacuate this area at once. We need to conduct a mission here. We ask for your cooperation." Lam Thien's group turned to see a fully equipped soldier rapidly evacuating people from the area. He glanced over and realized inwardly that this was no ordinary soldier. The powerful aura emanating from him indicated that he was also a cultivator. He wondered to himself, matters of spiritual energy are usually Director Lu's responsibility. Should this army wait a bit if this spiritual energy surge affects Lai Kai and the others? They could use it to level up. Just then, the soldier noticed that his group was still sitting at their table, showing no signs of leaving. He strode over, looked them straight in the eye, and called out, "Hey," he growled, "I'm talking to you. Get out of here now. You hear me?" Lu Tianfuang lost his temper, jumping to his feet and shouting, "Insolent! How dare you speak to my leader like that? Do you have any idea who he is?" The soldier immediately shoved his gun against Lu Tianfuang's throat and said, "Scram, or you die." Lu Tianfuang didn't back down. Wind element flared around him as he grabbed the barrel of the gun and said, "Then let's see what you've got." Lam Thien snapped quietly, "Stop." 3 hours earlier, during an emergency military meeting, everyone was in an uproar. What do we do now? The spiritual energy suddenly recovered. We're completely unprepared. The most important thing right now is to capture that escaped mutant hound. I told you from the beginning. We should have guarded that thing more carefully. As the argument intensified, the general sitting in the center spoke up. "Stop arguing. This is not the place for it," he stated decisively. "Right now, the top priority is to capture this mutant dog. We absolutely cannot allow civilians to be harmed." Then, he looked over at Tan Trinningia and said, "Little Tan, the mission to capture the mutant dog is yours. Tan Trin Nungia stood at attention and declared, "I guarantee the mission will be completed." Fox. The general continued, "Everyone is to return to the border immediately. The spirit energy has been fully restored, which means the border will no longer be as peaceful as it is now." Everyone responded in unison. "Yes, sir," and quickly left the meeting room. Only Tan Trin Nungia and the general remained in the room. He instructed, "Tan, you must capture the mutated dog before dawn." "Understand," Tan Trin Nungia shouted. "Yes, sir." Back in the present. At the temporary operational command center, Tan Trin Nungia stared at the surveillance monitors and gave an order into his radio. "All units in the east, speed up the evacuation. That beast could appear at any moment, by chance." He saw soldiers clashing with Lam Thien's group on one of the screens. Tan Trin Nungia narrowed his eyes, focusing on one person in particular as he muttered to himself, "Wait, isn't that..." Back with the group, he stood up to intervene. "Stop," he said curtly. "Don't cause any more trouble for the military." "Yes, boss." Lu Thienfuang immediately backed down and returned to his side. He looked at the soldier and said, "We'll leave right away." "Humph. Good thing you know your place," the soldier retorted before continuing with his duties. On their way out, he looked at Tovu Tin and advised her, "This afternoon, spirit energy fully erupted. From now on, we will have to face an incredibly dangerous world. Vu Tin, when you get back, remember to train diligently. Your foundation is still unstable, so you need to train step by step. Absolutely do not rush it." Just then, an urgent voice called out from behind them, "Little lamb, little lamb." He turned around, puzzled, and saw Tan Trin Nungia running towards him. He immediately lit up with joy and called out, "Big Tan." Tan Trin Nungia also laughed heartily, clapping him on the shoulder and saying, "Little lamb, is that really you?" Tu Vu Tin asked curiously, "Captain Lamb, is that an acquaintance of yours?" He smiled and introduced him. "This is my best friend from high school, Tan Trin Nungia." Tan Trin Nungia threw an arm around his shoulder and said with a grin, "Hello everyone, I'm Lam Thien's good father." "Tan Trin Nungia," he retorted, "you unfilial grandson. You're clearly my obedient grandson." Lai Kai spoke up, "Captain Lam, we'll head back first then. We won't disturb you catching up with your old friend." Lu Thienfuang also chimed in with a smile. "That's right. Boss, we'll get going." A moment later, only the two of them were left. He asked, "Kid, you're doing pretty well for yourself. Looking at that rank, you must have earned some merits." "Huh." Tan Trin Nungia lowered his voice mysteriously. "Little lamb, I'll tell you a piece of classified intel that was just declassified this afternoon," he replied. "The global spirit energy restoration." "Right. That topic was all over the hot search this afternoon," Tan Trin Nungia whispered. "I knew you wouldn't believe it. Let me tell you something. The reason this road is blocked off is because an extremely powerful mutated dog is hiding here. Our team is here to ensure the safety of the citizens." He thought to himself, "So that's what's going on. But could the mutated dog they're talking about be the one that was released during one of Lan Nguyet's previous experiments?" At that moment, a soldier ran up to report. "Reporting, Captain Tan. The civilians have all been evacuated." Tan Trin Nungia nodded and said, "Good. Then we just need to wait for the stray to walk into our trap." But he still had no intention of leaving. He wanted to stay and observe what level the military's strength had reached. So he said to Tan Trin Nungia with a half-joking, half-serious tone, "Big Tan, let me stick around and watch for a bit." Hearing this, Tan Trin Nungia didn't refuse immediately, but pondered for a moment. It's good for little lamb to learn early on that the rules of the world have changed. Otherwise, with his gentle personality, he's bound to suffer later on. After thinking it over, he turned and instructed a soldier beside him, "Truong, later, take him to the safe zone outside the hunting perimeter to observe our team's strength." Truong replied, "Yes, Captain." After making the arrangements, Tontrin Nungia hurried off. Once he was out of sight, Truong looked at him and warned, "Kid, I don't care how close you are to Captain Ton, but you better listen to me later." He smiled and replied, "All right, thanks in advance, big bro." A while later, he was sitting in the safe zone, quietly observing the squad of soldiers getting into position, his gaze calm but intensely focused. Although they were all armed with guns, based on the spirit energy fluctuations coming from them, he guessed that most of them were only at the first stage of the Valiant selection. However, their orderly formation showed that their overall combat effectiveness was not low. Suddenly, his expression changed. He turned his head in one direction and exclaimed inwardly, "It's here." A familiar aura is approaching fast. At the same time, the soldier on duty in the surveillance room relayed an order over the walkie-talkie. "Everyone be careful. The mutant hound has arrived," his warning voice urgent and repetitive. On a nearby street, the sound of gunfire suddenly erupted in continuous bursts, and the atmosphere instantly became extremely tense. The soldiers quickly fanned out, surrounding the mutant hound that had just appeared, tightening their formation step by step. They unleashed a continuous barrage of bullets toward the target, the concentrated firepower blanketing the area around the beast. However, the effect was extremely limited. Their attacks could barely penetrate its defenses. The bullets hit but couldn't break through the hound's thick, steel-like fur, only producing weak sparks. The mutant hound stood its ground and spun around violently, its massive body stirring up a heavy wave of air pressure. Its massive tail swept sideways, sending the nearby soldiers flying and instantly throwing the formation into disarray. He watched from a distance, quickly making an assessment of the situation before him. This mutated creature possesses the strength of at least the third stage of the Valiant selection. For a creature like this to appear right after the spirit energy restoration, it seems I'll have to step up my own training, starting tomorrow. Right at this moment, a special task force composed entirely of lightning attribute awakeners quickly appeared. Tontrin Ngia led the charge, shouting, "Regular soldiers, fall back. Special task force members, with me." His command was clear. He continued to order, "Use the black tortoise formation to hold it down for me," his voice firm and unwavering. Hearing Tontrin Ngia's command, the team members immediately sprang into action without delay. Each person dashed to their designated positions on the edge of the battlefield, coordinating flawlessly. They quickly spread out, forming an encirclement around the growling mutant hound. Immediately after, the entire team began to coordinate seamlessly, following their familiar tactics. They launched a continuous stream of attacks to harass it, forcing the mutant hound to divide its attention. At the right moment, Tontrin Nungia leaped high into the air, his body plummeting straight down. His hands were enveloped in lightning attribute spiritual energy, with fierce arcs of electricity coiling around them. He channeled all his strength into a powerful strike aimed at the mutant hound's head, unleashing his power in an instant. The blow injured the beast, causing its body to convulse as it spat out several mouthfuls of blood. He watched from the sidelines, nodding with a smile, his eyes clearly showing his approval, as expected of the military. Even though each person was only at the second stage Valiant level, their trust and coordination allowed their collective strength to far exceed their individual limits. He thought to himself that perhaps he had worried for nothing. It was only a matter of time before they defeated the mutant hound. Just as he thought that, he was about to turn and leave, but at that very moment, he felt the mutant hound's aura skyrocket at an unnatural speed. "What's going on?" he cried out internally, a distinct sense of danger rising within him. He immediately turned his head back, focusing his attention on the unfolding events on the battlefield. Tontrin Ngia also realized something was wrong and shouted, "This beast is trying to evolve again." He immediately gave the order, "Stop it now. We absolutely cannot let it succeed in evolving. If we don't, we'll all be killed." His voice echoed across the tense battlefield. Hearing the command, the members of the Special Task Force immediately tightened their formation, their combat reflexes kicking in instantly. The entire team charged forward to attack the mutant hound in unison, but the opportunity had already passed. The mutant hound completed its evolution, its power soaring, and in a flash, it sent all of them flying. Seeing this, Tontrin Ngia's heart sank, and he whispered under his breath, "We're screwed." Now, he was face to face with the mutant hound, and he could clearly sense that the beast had truly evolved. The special task force behind him advanced, awaiting orders. "Captain, what do we do now?" Trin Ngia gritted his teeth and replied, "We fight it with everything we've got. We absolutely cannot let it harm the civilians behind us. Special task force, charge with me." As the command rang out, the entire team responded in unison. "Yes, Captain." Not a single person faltered. They all courageously rushed forward to attack the mutant hound. But against its powerful body and sharp claws, they were sent flying one by one. Behind the barrier, their comrades could only shout helplessly. Captain Tontrin Ngia was severely wounded, collapsing at the foot of a stone wall, with no strength left to stand. He watched the mutant hound close in, a sense of helplessness welling up inside him. "Is this how I die?" Just then, Lam Thian appeared, blocking a fatal blow for him at the last second. Trin Ngia's vision was fading, but he still tried to look forward. Lam Thian. He blocked the mutant hound's attack with one hand, his voice deep and cold as he said, "You hurt my brother. Now you die." As soon as he finished speaking, he unleashed a powerful bolt of electricity, causing the mutant hound to roar in pain. "Ah!" Severely injured, the mutant hound immediately fell back, shifting into a defensive stance. Trin Ngia witnessed this firsthand, stammering in shock. "Lam Thian, you're a cultivator." He calmly spun the dagger in his hand and replied, "After I take care of this beast, we can talk." His comrades in the back were completely stunned. They never expected him to be a cultivator, and one who could injure a fourth-stage valiant mutant hound in a single blow. His strength was terrifying. Lam Thian launched himself high into the air, his figure like a descending deity, his voice echoing down. "Now, receive your judgment." After speaking, he condensed his lightning power into a weapon, pulling his arm back to gather strength. His eyes locked onto the mutant hound as it tried to find an escape route. Timing it perfectly, he launched his attack. "Trying to run, don't even think about it." The lightning pierce shot straight through the mutant hound's chest, and it let out a pained shriek. "Ah!" Its massive body immediately collapsed, knocked unconscious on the spot. Trin Ngia was helped up by his comrades, exclaiming in astonishment, "Little Lamb is a lightning attribute cultivator, and this powerful The mutant hound, struck by the blow, stood frozen in place, its body rigid as if flash-frozen. Lam Thian advanced step by step, the pressure radiating from him causing the mutant hound to tremble. He used the same dagger to finish it off. Demon Cleaver. With one clean slash, the mutant hound's body was split in two. The special task force could only watch in awe. To have such strength right after recovering his spiritual energy, just how much stronger would he become if he continued to grow? Trin Ngia looked at him with pride, thinking to himself, "That's my brother for you. You're amazing. Little Lamb too." He watched the dagger slowly disintegrate, thinking, "Even military-grade weapons can't withstand my lightning flame. I'll have to find a different kind of weapon." Trin Ngia walked over to greet him, laughing as he said, "Not bad. Little Lamb too. You were really holding out on me." He playfully slapped him on the shoulder, chiding. "You're this strong, and you were still pretending," Lam Thian reminded him softly. "Take it easy. You were hurt pretty badly just now." Trin Ngia paid it no mind, slinging an arm over his shoulder before turning to give orders. "You guys hurry up and drag that beast away. Me and my brothers are going to go have a few drinks." The whole squad responded in unison. "Yes, sir." Scene change. A bright moon hung high in the sky, illuminating the quiet night. Inside a room, a computer monitor was replaying the scene of Lam Thian confronting the mutant hound. Fifi crossed her arms and asked, "Is this man a friend of yours?" Tringia replied. More than a friend. We're brothers who would die for each other. Phi quickly calculated in her head. If she could recruit this talent into the army, their overall strength would skyrocket. She asked him directly, "Have you invited him to join the military yet?" Tringia scratched his head sheepishly and replied, "I did, but he said he's already joined the Cultivation Association." Fifa rested her chin on her hand, her expression turning serious. "It's that old man Luan. Isn't it? I'm going to find him and demand he hand him over right now." The scene shifts to a beautiful, sunny morning at Lam Thien's residence, a rare moment of peace. He walked out holding a cup of coffee, mumbling through a mouthful of hamburger. "I forgot you were home. I didn't get you any breakfast." Tio Nguyet, sitting on the sofa, asked him point blank, "Did you take part in the military's operation last night?" He answered concisely, "It was all unintentional. I didn't plan on getting involved, but I ran into a brother in trouble. What's up?" Tio Nguyet explained, "This morning, the daughter of the military's commander-in-chief kept calling Director Liu, wanting you to join the army." With his mouth full, he asked, "Oh, so what did you tell Uncle Liu?" Tio Nguyet replied, "Director Liu has already suppressed the matter, but that commander's daughter isn't easy to deal with. You should be careful for the next few days." He turned his head away and joked, "What, does she want me to marry into her family or something?" Just then, his phone rang. The screen displayed the name Ton Trin Nghia. He answered the phone and asked, "Hey man, what's up?" A woman's voice came from the other end of the line. "Is this Lam Thien? I'm Ton Trin Nghia's superior. My name is Tham Phi. He and Tio Nguyet were both momentarily stunned, listening in silence. Phi continued, "We have a location that contains very powerful fire attribute spiritual energy. Would you be interested in taking a look?" Hearing this, he was immediately intrigued. Fire attribute. He had just been worrying about how to strengthen his fire spiritual energy, Phi explained. "Initially, while patrolling a construction site at night, we discovered a cluster of fire spirits. Everyone thought it was just superstition, so they called in a Taoist priest. As a result, not only did the priest fail to drive away the fire spirits, he actually made them stronger. Now, the entire construction site is engulfed in a raging inferno. The military cordoned off the area early on, but we're still helpless. Yesterday afternoon, the recovery of spiritual energy caused the flames to flare up even more violently. If it spreads, the surrounding population will be in grave danger." Sitting in a supercar, he listened and then asked, "Are the flames still spreading?" Phi replied, "That's right. For now, all we can do is continuously expand the blockade perimeter." Fifi suddenly asked, "Oh, by the way, I heard you and Lan Nguyet have some kind of relationship. Is that right?" He was startled and quickly said, "Miss Tam, don't be ridiculous. Lan Nguyet is only monitoring me at Director Liu's request." Fifi's expression darkened as she replied, "Don't be so quick to deny it. Just hear me out. Global spiritual energy has fully recovered. For the sake of national security, we are forced to establish an army of cultivators to deal with external variables. Right now, the capable cultivators we have all have different temperaments. They're passable on the battlefield, but they absolutely cannot be trusted to teach new recruits. Tontrin Nghia said you are both powerful and trustworthy." He immediately asked, "So what you mean is, you want me to help train new cultivators for the army?" Phi answered right away, "That's right, as long as you agree. All terms of compensation are negotiable." He shook his head slightly. "I'm sorry, but I don't have the energy for that right now. My priority is to train the people Director Liu has already entrusted to my care." After hearing this, Phi nodded. "All right, I'll give you that. You really are a man of loyalty and principle." The scene shifts outside, where a chaotic crowd has gathered. Shouts ring out, "Don't push! It's dangerous inside. Don't get any closer." Phi and he got out of the car, moving forward to see what was going on. Just as they approached the crowd, a familiar voice called out, "Lam Thien, what are you doing here?" In front of them were Kuang Vu and Li Hiu Dong. walking over arm in arm. He looked at them with an annoyed expression, thinking to himself, why is this guy here too? Kwang Vu gave a faint, mocking smile. So you're the fool Hudong can't get over. I suppose you do have a certain air about you. He glanced around at the crowd, cursing under his breath. Damn it. Of all the times to run into this mess, this is going to be a pain. Seeing his silence, Kwang Vu spoke up. Look, buddy, even if you're still hung up on Hudong, you need to realize there's a gap between you two that can't be crossed. Hudong added, Lam Tien, I gave you a chance. You're the one who threw it away. The crowd of onlookers below immediately erupted. Wow, what a show today. Looks like the devoted warrior lost again. Huh. His face turned cold, with only one thought in his mind, damn it. These two are complete idiots. Fai Fai stepped forward from behind, looking at him with confusion in her eyes. Lam Tien, what's happening? The reporters immediately swarmed towards Fai Fai, their voices a low buzz. Oh my God, where did this gorgeous woman come from? Kwang Vu was also stunned, his mouth hanging open as he stared, completely captivated. He could only think, a beauty like this actually exists compared to her. Li Hudong is nothing. He quickly regained his composure and stepped forward to greet her. Hello, beautiful. My name is Kwang Vu. Fifi paid him no mind at all, turning instead to ask Lam Tien. Are these two friends of yours? Kwang Vu's face flushed with embarrassment at being ignored, and he fumed internally. What the hell is this woman really treating me like thin air? That's when he finally spoke up. That shameless couple, let's go. No point wasting our time on this nonsense. With that, he and Fai Fai turned and walked away, leaving Kwang Vu standing there, completely stunned. The crowd below erupted in laughter. No wonder that guy left her. If it were me, I'd choose the new girl in a heartbeat. Hudong's expression was thick with jealousy as she thought bitterly. How dare she put on airs in front of me? So what if she's a little prettier? I'll make her regret this. She angrily vented her frustration on Kwang Vu. Have you had a good look? She's gone now. Kwang Vu rubbed his head, explaining. Hudong, it's just a professional habit of mine. And then wrapped his arm around her waist. But she was thinking to herself, if it weren't for your money, I wouldn't have looked at you twice. The scene changes. As they walked, Fai Fai told him, I just confirmed with the soldiers. The flames inside are showing signs of strengthening again. We'll probably have to expand the quarantine zone, he asked. Expand it again. She nodded. That's right. Unless we find a way to deal with it for good. He froze, taking in the scene before him. Fai Fai confirmed in a low voice. This is it. She pointed ahead, saying, This is the place I told you about yesterday. An area saturated with fire attribute spirit energy. He pulled out a device that resembled a stopwatch. Fai Fai asked curiously, What is that? He replied, You could call it a spirit energy detector. Fai Fai took it for a look and immediately reached a conclusion. The spirit energy levels are off the charts. It looks like our only option is to expand the containment zone. She immediately gave the order. Expand the warning perimeter to 5 kilometers. Nada, raise it to 10 kilometers. But unlike everyone else, he looked as if he was about to do something completely different. Fai Fai looked straight at him and asked, What do you think you're doing? A soldier asked anxiously. Deputy Commander, what are our orders? Fai Fai wondered. Could he actually have a way to control these flames? Right after that, he walked alone, straight towards the raging inferno. The system interface immediately popped up. Report potent fire attribute spirit energy detected. Do you wish to absorb it? He smiled with certainty. Absolutely. With that. He sat down cross-legged and began to absorb all the fire spirit energy around him. As he absorbed it, the spirit energy in the area fluctuated violently, shielding herself. Fai Fai thought in shock. Such an intense aura. Just what level of cultivator is he? While trying to maintain control of the area, she silently wondered. If he manages to absorb all of this fire spirit energy, just how powerful will he become? Her mind raced with possibilities. The 4th stage of the Valiant Spring Realm. The 5th stage. Or could he be even higher? On the system panel, the progress bar shot up to 90% and then instantly hit 100%. Fire attribute spirit energy has reached level 2. Reward displayed. 1 chance to draw a new 1-star fire attribute technique. The system announced. Congratulations, host. Your fire attribute spirit energy has been upgraded to level 2. Please proceed to draw a new technique. He immediately hit confirm and began the draw. Suddenly, he froze. His scalp tingled as he blurted out, "No way. It's gold. It's gold. Eternal Sacred Flame." Art. A gold rarity. Fire attribute cultivation technique. The system announced. Congratulations, host, on obtaining a gold rarity technique for the first time. System reward 10 points. Eternal Sacred Flame. Art. After mastering, the user can store fire attribute spirit energy within their body. During an attack, this energy can be released directly to inflict massive area of effect damage. He grinned in satisfaction and commanded, "Absorb it." The system immediately complied. The immense source of energy rapidly began to shrink. Fi watched in utter shock, her mind reeling. What kind of monster is this guy? Does he really intend to absorb all of that terrifying fire spirit energy? A moment later, he walked out of the area completely unharmed. His aura was stable, as if the violent disturbance from before had never even happened. Fi rushed over anxiously. "Lam Thien, are you all right?" He replied calmly, his voice as light as a breeze. "I'm fine. Thank you for bringing me here." Just then, the spirit energy detector suddenly gave off an unusual signal, causing Fi to freeze for a split second. She immediately threw the device far away, reacting faster than she could even think. The moment the device left her hand, it exploded, sending shrapnel flying. But luckily, he managed to dive in front of her just in time, blocking the entire shockwave. Fi looked at him, her gaze gradually growing intense as she thought to herself that this man had to be hers, no matter the cost. The scene changes to a high-end restaurant in the city center, the atmosphere quiet, with soft lighting. Fi invited him to a meal to celebrate their victory and asked, "So you're saying you absorbed all of that fire attribute spirit energy at the construction site?" He replied, "That's right. I hope it won't cause you any trouble." Fi smiled reassuringly. "Don't worry, there won't be any trouble." Then continued to ask, "Can you tell me what realm you're currently at?" He thought for a moment before answering. "Probably the peak of the 4th Valiant Selection realm. About to break through to the 5th realm." Fi couldn't hide her shock and blurted out, "What, you're only at the 4th realm?" He explained, a bit awkwardly. "My cultivation method is a little special. How should I put it? It's not like a normal person's." Seeing this, Fi let it go. "All right, every cultivator has their secrets. If you don't want to tell me, I won't force you." To which he politely replied, "Thank you for understanding." She smiled and suggested, "Lam Thien, honestly, have you considered joining our military department? The benefits here are much better than at the Cultivator Association." He bluntly refused. "Not for now. I don't have any intention of joining the military." So Fi could only reply, "All right, I won't force you." However, she continued, "I definitely have to report what happened today. Otherwise it'll be hard to explain to my grandfather." And he nodded. Understood. That night, the lights were still on in the small apartment, a rare moment of quiet in the air. Lan Nguyet received a file from Director Liu, the contents instructing her to call him to handle the Night Phantom mission. Their spirit energy was fully restored, and the two of them had to be especially careful. She texted back, "Yes, Director Liu." Remembering that he had agreed during their call, she let out a soft sigh and told herself that she absolutely had to go tomorrow. With that thought, she placed the notebook in her hand down on the table then opened the door and left without looking back. At the same time, he was lying in his room when he smelled a fragrant aroma, thinking to himself that although Lan Nguyen didn't talk much, her cooking skills really weren't bad. He opened the door, walked out, and said with a natural-sounding laugh, "Lan Nguyen, your breakfast smells amazing." Immediately after, he froze, a bewildered look on his face as if he couldn't comprehend what was happening before his eyes. After standing stunned for a few seconds, he finally blurted out, "Temfai, what are you doing in my house too? Where on earth did you women get a key to my place?" Fai calmly reassured him, "Don't worry. I went through official military channels to requisition your house as a secret location." He retorted angrily, "That doesn't sound official in any way, shape, or form." He turned and called out, "Lan Nguyen, stop hiding. Come on out. Can't you even watch the house properly?" He opened the bedroom door only to find it completely empty, the belongings neat and tidy, with no one in sight. He lowered his voice and muttered, "Where did she go, Fai?" Standing beside him, said, "There was no one here when I arrived. Maybe she knew I was coming and decided to retreat." Hearing that, he suddenly realized something, and his expression immediately changed. He quickly returned to the table and opened the notebook Lan Nguyen had left behind last night. After reading it, his face darkened, the words "Night Phantom Mission" glaringly clear before his eyes. He clenched his fists, a storm brewing inside him. Did that girl really go by herself? Fai asked curiously. "Lam Thien, where are you going in such a hurry?" he replied as he threw on a jacket and ran out the door. "Lan Nguyen is in trouble. I have to find Director Liu right now." The scene shifts to that morning, far out on the vast open sea, where the waves churned endlessly. Lan Nguyen was sinking deep beneath the water, thinking helplessly. Without Lam Thien, am I really this useless? She bit her lip and blamed herself. In the end, I'm just too weak. Just then, her body came to a halt amidst the freezing water. She released all of her restraints, completely unleashing the power within her body. Lan Nguyen waved her hand, and massive blocks of ice rapidly condensed around her, a cold light spreading across the seabed. Before she could even rejoice, the thought flashed through her mind, "I did it." At that very moment, a shadowy figure suddenly appeared inside the block of ice in front of her. Lan Nguyen immediately snapped back to her senses, her intuition screaming warnings at her. She spun around to survey her surroundings, the sense of danger growing clearer and clearer. A water monster had silently appeared behind her. Lan Nguyen channeled all her strength into her arms, continuously launching attacks. But contrary to her expectations, the Night Phantom suddenly opened its mouth wide, as if it were actively welcoming the attack. That bizarre behavior stunned her. What in the world was that? Immediately after, streams of dark energy swirled around her. What was happening? What is this stuff? A chill shot through her heart. This is bad. Something is draining my vital energy. She struggled desperately, swimming upwards to find a way out. She absolutely could not let this monster continue to devour spiritual energy, or it would only grow stronger. Just then, a massive tentacle suddenly whipped straight towards her. The blow struck her head, and the intense pain that followed made her spit up blood. As her body sank toward the seabed, she thought in despair, "Am I really going to be devoured by this monster?" Just as fear gripped her mind, he suddenly appeared like a god descending from the heavens. He immediately caught her and asked, "Are you okay?" She suppressed the pain and replied, "You need to get out of here. This monster seems to be trying to absorb spiritual energy." Without hesitation, he swept her into his arms and took off, saying, "Hang on, I'll get you out of here first." The two of them transformed into a streak of light, tearing through the water and shooting straight out of the battlefield. The moment they set foot on shore, Fai rushed over and asked anxiously, "Lam Thien, you two are out. Is the anomalous beast taken care of?" He handed Lan Nguyen to her and said, "It's not dealt with yet. First, help her regain consciousness." Fai nodded immediately. "Okay, I'll take her to the hospital." though his entire body was still soaking wet. His eyes had turned cold. Once Lan Nanguyat is safe, I'll go back and handle it. The scene shifts to the hospital, where Lan Nanguyat is receiving emergency care. She lay quietly on the hospital bed, wearing an oxygen mask, her breathing weak but stable. In the hospital room, Luan gripped his hand and said emotionally, "Young man, I truly can't thank you enough for this. If it weren't for you, that girl definitely wouldn't have kept her life." He replied calmly, "Bureau Chief Lu, there's no need for formalities. Please, tell me about the mission." He nodded and replied, "All right, I'll tell you right now." Then, Lu An slowly began to explain. "This monster, the Nightmare Shadow, we've been tracking it for over half a year." Hearing this, he immediately grasped the key point. Over half a year. Then doesn't that mean? Liu An understood his meaning and nodded in confirmation. That's right. Back then, there were fewer than 10 people in the entire world who had come into contact with spiritual energy cultivation. Recalling its bizarre form, he continued, "We've never clearly seen the monster's true shape, so we speculate it's related to the darkness attribute." Through his account, a clearer picture of the Nightmare Shadow began to form. It used its darkness attribute to hide on the seabed, constantly devouring the surrounding spiritual energy to strengthen itself. Liu An's voice grew heavy. Along with the restoration of spiritual energy a few days ago, this monster has grown much stronger. If we don't eliminate it now, ordinary citizens will surely face disaster. He looked at him with sincere hope and said, "Lam Thien, young man, I hope you can help us resolve this matter." He answered decisively, "I will, but I need you to do something for me." The scene changes to Fai's house, where the lights are still on. From the bathroom, she spoke into her phone, "Grandfather, why would you let Lam Thien go on such a dangerous mission?" The voice on the other end replied, "This is a test for him, and also a test for our country." She still protested, "But you didn't have to make him face such a dangerous mission right from the start." Stepping into the bathtub, Fai explained, "For the Nightmare Shadow mission, the military initially dispatched a professional team. Though soaking in the warm water, her voice remained serious. On that squad, even the weakest member had reached the 3rd stage of the Valiant Spring Realm, and they still failed." Mr. Tam continued to persuade her. Fai, I know you're worried about the boy, but we have no other choice. Besides, this time I've sent 3 military elites to support him." Fai's expression gradually darkened. Global spiritual energy has now fully recovered, and the rules of the world have changed drastically. If we fall behind other nations, we will surely be invaded and plundered. Seeing her silence, Mr. Tam continued, "The Nightmare Shadow is the lowest level A-rank danger zone that we can still control. Only by conquering A-rank threats can our country have a voice in this world." After hanging up, Fai paused for a moment, an undeniable sense of unease rising within her. All she could do was silently pray that Lam Thien would return safely, without any mishaps. The scene immediately fast-forwards. A luxury car glides down a major road, its body reflecting the streetlights as if it were racing towards an urgent mission. Inside the car, Vu Tin sat up straight, her hesitant voice breaking the silence. Captain Lam," as if she were weighing every word before continuing. Noticing her nervousness, he spoke up first, his voice deep and steady. "What is it?" His eyes never left the road ahead. The girl, filled with obvious curiosity, asked in a rush, "So, what kind of mission are we going on? And why did you only bring me? Aren't Chokai and the others coming?" As if he had anticipated the question. He answered concisely, "There are 4 of you, but you're the only one who has reached the 3rd stage of the Valiant Spring Realm. I need to see if you've been slacking off lately. That's the mission." His words made her tense up immediately. I will definitely do my best. I absolutely won't hold you back. Captain Lam, He continued to reassure her in a gentle tone. You don't need to worry too much. Just think of it as a training exercise. Besides, Bureau Chief Liu said the military will be sending people to support us. After carefully reading the documents, Vu Tin took a deep breath to encourage herself. All right, I will definitely do my utmost for you, Captain Lam. A moment later, the driver turned his head and announced, Mr. Lam, we've arrived at the port. His voice cut through the atmosphere in the car. As soon as the car stopped, the group quickly opened the doors and got out. Their pace hurried. No one said another unnecessary word, while Vu Tin was still slowly observing her surroundings. He was already looking straight ahead, his sharp gaze sweeping across the entire port area. Chumak, who had arrived early, remarked as soon as he saw them. Cultivators these days are really getting younger and younger. Noticing his arrival, he spoke bluntly. A warrior at the 4th stage of the Gushing Spring realm is indeed a master in this situation. Are you from the military? Chumak immediately replied in a stern voice. My name is Chumak. I hope you two don't slow us down. His attitude clearly annoyed Vu Tin. What's that supposed to mean? Do you have any idea how strong our Captain Lam is? Fearing the tension would explode, Manhwa quickly stepped in to mediate. All right. Old Chu is a bit blunt. Please don't take it to heart. We still have to handle this crisis together. Arguing now won't solve anything. Luan Vu, standing behind them with an indifferent expression, opened his mouth to conclude. We have everyone. Let's go. Despite being looked down upon, he remained calm, turning to comfort her. It's fine. Don't pay attention to them. Just do your job well. Vu Tin nodded. All right, Captain Lam. Not long after, the group dove down to the seabed one by one. He, Vu Tin, and the military personnel gently advanced deeper into the ocean's darkness. Chumak suddenly frowned and spoke up. Something is sucking the spirit energy from my body. Luan Vu was shocked. This is the corrosive ability of the dark attribute. Be careful, Manhwa said while putting up a shield. We probably won't survive long in this environment. Vu Tin swam close by, unable to resist covering her nose and complaining. Captain Lam, I feel like I'm going to puke. Why does it smell so rotten in the sea? Beneath the cold water, he still took a deep breath, his expression completely unwavering. Immediately after, he activated a surge of power, quickly enveloping them both and pushing back the uncomfortable sensation around them. Not understanding what he was doing, she let out a shy, embarrassed cry. Captain Lam, he replied calmly. I've helped you block part of the dark attribute's influence. Don't disappoint me. His seriousness made Vu Tin immediately straighten up. Yes, sir. Up ahead. Chumak sneered inwardly with a competitive spirit. Everyone is this uncomfortable. That kid must be so scared he's frozen stiff. Suddenly, his eyes widened, his voice filled with astonishment. What? How is that possible? He had a clear view of his and Vu Tin's calm demeanor, as if they were completely unaffected, which he found utterly unbelievable. After a moment of shock, Chumak huffed again, assuming they had poured all their spirit energy into resisting the darkness and would be caught off guard when danger struck. While Chumak was still making malicious assumptions, Luan Vu suddenly noticed something unusual. What is that? Everyone be careful. In the deep sea, a streak of light flashed by, so fast it left a blurry trail. The moment he saw it, Chumak immediately spoke up. That monster is nearby. Almost at the same time he shouted, the Dark Knight Phantom appeared. It's here. In that brief moment, Vu Tin hastily gathered power in her palm, preparing to unleash an attack. Just then, he stepped forward to stop her. Don't act rashly, observe carefully. This fish is not the monster's true form. His firm voice stunned Vu Tin. What? On the other side, Chumak didn't think twice, directly throwing a punch at the Dark Knight Phantom. A magic circle instantly appeared in the middle of the sea, vibrating violently in the water. He smirked condescendingly. Kid, don't just stand there like an idiot. A single mistake here will cost you your life." That contemptuous attitude infuriated Vu Tin. "You idiot. That's an illusion. Can't you tell?" Hearing that, he immediately retorted loudly. "What illusion? What nonsense is this girl spouting?" That's right then. Minhoa's panicked voice rang out. "Chumak, watch out." Just as she finished speaking, countless tentacles emerged from nowhere, thrashing wildly in the seawater, their relentless assault aimed straight at the group. Luan Vu cried out in alarm. "What's happening? Where did these tentacles come from?" His voice clearly filled with confusion. As soon as the question was asked, the true form of the Dark Knight Phantom was fully revealed, its colossal body sending a chill down one's spine. This is... Minhwa immediately sensed the terrifying aura. 5th stage of the Gushing Spring Realm. So it's a 5th stage Gushing Spring Realm monster. Only then did Luan Vu understand why the previous team had failed so miserably. Ignoring the spreading fear, Vu Tin charged forward with all her might, decisively unleashing her skill. Ice Scythe's feathered slash, despite his outward scorn. Chumak still roared with worry. "You fool. You're no match for it." She gritted her teeth, raising her weapon, and made a silent vow in her heart. "I absolutely cannot disappoint Captain Lamb. I have to show Captain Lamb what I'm made of." A layer of ice instantly encased the nearby tentacles, and Vu Tin brought her weapon down in a clean slash, shattering them into pieces. Immediately after, she couldn't contain her emotions and let out a triumphant cheer that echoed through the water, like a child who had just been praised. Vu Tin turned to report her success with a radiant smile. "Captain Lamb, I did it." That attack had clearly enraged the Dark Knight Phantom, and the aura around it instantly became chaotic. Chumak immediately recognized the abnormality and shouted, "Run!" But it was too late. He, Minhwa, and Luan Vu were all blown away from their positions. Luan Vu and Minhwa were hit repeatedly, their auras weakening noticeably. In that critical moment, Vu Tin managed to erect a snowflake shield to protect them. However, the tentacle's power was too great, and the defensive layer was quickly shattered. The scene before her left her stunned and in despair. "Am I going to die here?" Just then, a brilliant flash of light erupted, and Lam Thien's voice echoed through the water. "Good job." It turned out he had blocked the attack right in front of her. "Captain Lamb," he said calmly. "Just be more careful next time." "All right." That power horrified Minhwa. That kid actually dared to block the tentacle's attack. Luan Vu couldn't hide his surprise either. Is his spiritual energy fire-based? Why does it feel so different from the fire element I know elsewhere? Chumak also sensed the change, speculating in a low voice. How can there be such a powerful fire-based spiritual energy? Could it be from that kid? Amidst the monster's fury, Lam Thien remained composed. 3 days ago, you used your tentacles to injure Lan Nguyet. Now, I'll do the same to you. Fair is fair." Right after speaking, he slowly drew his sword, his movements so relaxed it was as if he were testing a newly mastered technique. His figure flashed, moving with lightning speed as he closed in on the Dark Knight Phantom. He dove down from above, raising his longsword high, his aura condensed to its absolute peak, as expected. Lam Thien plunged the tip of his sword directly into the monster's body. Seeing this, Chumak gritted his teeth and cursed inwardly. Fool! How could the body of a 5th-level gushing spring creature be harmed by a dull blade like that? Ignoring all scorn, he calmly chanted, "Undying azure flame art." In the next instant, the sword in Lam Thien's hand erupted in fierce flames. The fire spread relentlessly, its searing heat threatening to incinerate the entire area. The flames quickly engulfed the Dark Knight Phantom, which shrieked in agony as it was burned. Then, the monster's body exploded, sending shockwaves throughout the deep sea. This scene left Chumak utterly stunned. What just happened? Even as he shouted in his mind, Lam Thien's expression remained unchanged. "What kind of power is this Chumak frowned and then gritted his teeth as he came to a realization. So, what the commander-in-chief said was all true. He suddenly recalled a conversation from years ago. Back then, Chumak had argued loudly, "Commander, you think too highly of him. He's just a lowly rogue cultivator. Without the military's resources, how strong can he possibly be?" But the commander had simply replied calmly, "Chumak, I know you're arrogant, but this man named Lam Thien, his strength is not to be underestimated." At the time, he had explained, a common person looking at a cultivator is like a frog in a well gazing at the moon. But for cultivators today, looking at Lam Thien is like a speck of dust looking up at the vast sky. This is a man you can only befriend, never make an enemy of. Returning to the present, Chumak was still in disbelief. Is he even human with talent like this? If he were nurtured by the military, what realm would he reach? His gaze shifted to Vu Tin, and he praised her silently. Truly his subordinate. She's calm and steady in the face of danger. To have already reached the third-level gushing spring at such a young age, her future is immeasurable. At that thought, Chumak's expression darkened, and he sighed inwardly. It seems I've gotten old. Manhwa helped Luan Vu to his feet. Seeing Chumak with his head bowed in silence, she asked curiously, "Old Chu, are you hurt?" Luan Vu chimed in with surprise. "What are you spacing out for?" The two of them supported each other as they approached Chumak. He bowed his head and admitted his fault. "I'm sorry. A moment ago, I was only thinking of my own survival." Luan Vu didn't blame him, patting him lightly on the chest. "It's all right. Just treat us to a round of drinks later and we'll call it even." Chumak laughed in response. "Deal. Let me apologize properly first, and then we'll drink until we can't find our way home." With that, he walked over to Lam Thien and said sincerely in a low voice, "Thank you for saving me and my comrades. I was wrong about you before." He replied humbly, "Captain Chu, you were just worried about everyone. Don't worry about it." The man bowed once more. "Even so, thank you very much." Vu Tin swam over, pinching her nose, and urged them, "Captain Lam, Captain Chu, let's hurry up. The smell here is killing me." He nodded. "Yeah, let's go." The group quickly swam towards the surface. But just then, he suddenly noticed something strange. Vu Tin turned back and asked, "Captain Lam, what's wrong?" He looked down at the seabed and instructed, "You all go on ahead. I'm going to check if there's something down there." As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately turned around and swam straight down into the dark depths of the sea. A faint, ethereal light suddenly flickered in the water. He stopped short, a look of astonishment on his face. "Is that—" Two starlight flowers gradually came into view, surprising him. Two starlight flowers. He moved closer, holding the flowers in his hand and thinking. This time, both Vu Tin and Lan Nguyet can use these to increase their strength. After collecting the starlight flowers, he finally returned to the surface. The lights from the large bridge over the harbor illuminated the entire area. He walked along, scanning his surroundings, his eyes searching for a familiar face. A voice suddenly spoke up from behind him. "Lam Thien, is that you?" Leinwo stepped out from the shadows, standing silently behind him, his presence completely concealed. He was startled for a moment. When did this person get here without me even noticing? He wondered, then asked, "And you are?" The other person held out a business card and introduced himself. "My name is Leinwo. I'm the young Mrs. Bodyguard. This is my card." Leinwo continued to explain. "The young miss was busy with a mission a few days ago and couldn't meet you. In the future, if you need any help, you can call this number." He took the card, glanced at it, and asked, "Who is this young miss you're talking about?" Leinwo replied, "Commander Tam's granddaughter, Miss Tam Phi Phi." He frowned slightly. So it really is her, he thought. Among all the people I know, Only she would have a bodyguard like this. He reassessed his opponent. He couldn't see through this person's strength. Could he have already reached the Iron Vein realm? He asked directly. "What do you want with me?" "And where are my friends?" Lainwo replied. "Mr. Vu Tin has been taken home by a private car. Chumak and the other two have also left in a military vehicle. A luxury car was parked behind them." Lainwo pointed and said, "I was waiting for you here, because the commander wants to see you." He was stunned and asked, "The commander of the military?" Lainwo nodded. "That's right. Please, follow me." Lainwo opened the car door, his voice formal as he said, "Please." Inside the car, he asked curiously, "You must be Commander Tam." Commander Tam smiled welcomingly. "You must be Lam Thien." "Right, my granddaughter hasn't stopped talking about you these past few days. Have a seat." He sat across from him as Commander Tam spoke slowly. "I heard from my granddaughter that you've sealed the heavenly fire within your body," he replied. "That's right." The commander sighed softly. "With spiritual energy returning, it seems anything is possible." He continued with praise. "To have grown this strong without any military backing is truly impressive." He declared it was a blessing for the country. Lam Thien scratched his head and replied, "You're too kind, Commander. I was just lucky." Commander Tam stroked his chin and chuckled lightly. "Good. Humble but not weak. Calm but not arrogant. I see why my granddaughter thinks so highly of you," after a few pleasantries. His expression turned serious. "Lam Thien, the world is changing. Anomalies will become more and more frequent. And for ordinary people, they are a disaster." He grew pensive, then replied, "Rest assured, Commander. If I encounter an anomaly harming civilians, I will absolutely not stand by and do nothing." The commander shook his head and explained, "I'm not saying this to force you. I just hope you will improve your strength quickly." He continued, "Among all types of spiritual energy, the dark attribute is the most troublesome. It corrodes living beings and turns them into mindless monsters." His face grew increasingly grave. "Your lightning-type spiritual energy is the best counter to the darkness. You must grow stronger quickly. For your own sake, and for the country's." He replied seriously, "Yes, Commander Tam. You can count on me. I will definitely do my best to train." The commander took out a phone and handed it to Lam Thien. "This is a special military-issue device. It's completely secure against eavesdropping. If you need any assistance, call me directly." He happily accepted it with both hands. "Thank you, Commander Tam. Actually, there is something I was hoping you could help me with." Commander Tam was a bit surprised. "Oh, what is it? Tell me." He slowly drew out his blade and quickly explained, "It's like this. This is the weapon I asked Director Liu to get for me." As the blade left its sheath, more cracks appeared on its surface. He continued, "I thought it could withstand my spiritual energy." But Commander Tam took a closer look and froze. "I remember this blade. It's old Liu's most prized treasure. For it to be damaged this badly. Just how powerful is the spiritual energy inside this kid?" Commander Tam calmly concluded, "Leave this to me. In a few days, I'll have someone bring you a sturdier blade to try." Lam Thien's face lit up. "Thank you, Commander Tam." The conversation ended, and he stepped out of the car. A crescent moon cast a dim light over the pier. He watched the car drive away, thinking to himself that he couldn't let his guard down for even a second. Suddenly, his phone rang. He answered it. "Hello, Director Liu. What's wrong?" Liu An's panicked voice came through the phone. "Lam Thien, Lan Nguyet is not doing well." He immediately asked, "What happened?" On the other end, Lan Nguyet was lying in a hospital bed while doctors and nurses tried to save her. One person said frantically, "Miss Lan's heart rate is slowing down." Another replied, "I know. You don't have to tell me. We have to find a way to draw out all the dark spiritual energy from her body." Siu. An argument broke out in the emergency room. One doctor objected. No, we can't. She's in a coma. Forcibly extracting the spiritual energy will cause what's left to run rampant. Someone else panicked. Then what do we do? Are we just supposed to stand here and watch her die? Liu An sat outside, his eyes vacant, his heart filled with overwhelming self-blame. It's all my fault. Lam Thien's voice suddenly rang out. Director Liu, I'm here. Liu An let out a sigh of relief. Lam Thien, you're finally here. He quickly asked, how is Lan Nguyet now? Wasn't she fine when I left? Why did this happen so suddenly? The director suddenly asked him directly, do you know the properties of dark-type spiritual energy? He answered immediately, dark-type spiritual energy can make living creatures lose their minds. Don't tell me. Liu An nodded and explained, that's right. Lan Nguyet has been strong-willed since she was a child, after you saved her. She started doubting her own abilities and took on a mission by herself without telling you, he said sadly. If I had known, I would have assigned the mission to both of you and made sure she went with you. He immediately called out in his mind, System, get out here. Is there any way to save Lan Nguyet? The system replied, please touch Lan Nguyet's body for 3 minutes. The system will help the host analyze a treatment method. He rushed forward and threw open the hospital room door. I get it. I'm going in now. He burst in, stunning the doctors and nurses. Who are you, nurse? Get him out of here. We're trying to save a patient. He walked straight to the bed, pushed a doctor aside and said, if you can't save her, then get out of my way. He took her hand, forcing himself to stay calm. System, you have to save her. The system immediately replied. Beginning analysis. The medical staff in the room grew angry, taking turns yelling, where did this insolent brat come from? Let go of me. Have you been watching too many web dramas and reading trashy novels? You think you can cure her just by checking her pulse? Get out of here. Don't interfere with Miss Lan's treatment. If Director Liu holds you responsible, you won't be able to bear the consequences. The room erupted into chaos. Dr. Luke yelled, and what about the security guards outside who let this kid in here? Liu An walked in and stated firmly, I let him in. Is there a problem? Dr. Luke immediately stepped aside in fear. Director Liu. I didn't mean that. It's just that Miss Lan's injuries right now. He sighed, his voice heavy with sorrow. Just let Lam Thien give it a shot. If he can't save her either, then this old man will be the one responsible for her death. Dr. Luke looked at him, his mind filled with questions. Just who is this kid? What's his story? To make Director Liu talk like that. The system panel showed the analysis progress at 62%. Then it gradually increased to 84%. Before long, the system delivered the results. Treatment Plan 1. Crush the starlight flower into a powder for the patient to swallow, which will shatter the balance between the ice and dark spirit energies. 2. Transfer lightning spirit energy from the host's body into Lan Nguyet's, guiding it to eliminate the dark spirit energy. 3. Slowly harmonize the lightning and ice energies within Lan Nguyet's body, while simultaneously withdrawing the lightning energy. 4. The entire process is projected to take a significant amount of time. He turned and spoke quickly. Director Liu, I have a way to save Lan Nguyet, but I need everyone to step back a bit. Dr. Luke shouted. Step back? Why, what's there to hide when you're saving someone's life? A powerful surge of lightning energy erupted from his body as he replied coldly, because in this state, I can only guarantee Lan Nguyet's safety. I can't guarantee yours. Understand? Liu An ordered everyone to do as Lam Thien said. They had no choice but to reply. Yes, sir. The room quickly fell silent, leaving only the sound of ragged breathing and the beeping of machines. He began to crush the starlight flower, grinding it into a fine powder. He dissolved one starlight flower into water. He helped Lan Nguyet sit up, then slowly brought the mixture to her lips for her to drink. As soon as she drank it, Lan Nguyet had a violent reaction, and her body began to convulse intensely. Lam Thien slowly channeled his lightning spirit energy into her body. He reassured her in a firm voice. Don't worry. I will absolutely bring you back. A steady stream of energy began to spread through her. Hours passed by quietly. Warm sunlight filtered through the blinds, casting a soft glow across the silent room. Lan Nguyet's eyelashes fluttered, and she slowly opened her eyes. Her breathing gradually returned to normal. She was stunned, her lips barely moving. Lam Thien. Her gaze was still hazy. He let out a sigh of relief, his shoulders slumping. You're finally awake, he said, his voice softening considerably. He lowered his voice to remind her. Don't be so reckless next time. His gaze was serious, but not harsh. Lan Nguyet was still groggy. She asked softly, Did you save me? Her voice was faint. He covered his mouth with a small yawn, his exhaustion obvious. Yeah, he replied. Luckily, I found 2 starlight flower stones at the bottom of the sea. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known how to save you. Her expression fell, and she asked sadly, Do you feel like I'm just dragging you down? He was surprised. Why would you think that? He tried to reassure her bluntly. You're a powerful cultivator at the Valiant Selection 3rd level. At this stage, you're practically unbeatable. She replied softly. But I'm still weaker than you. He comforted her calmly. Don't be so hard on yourself. It's not that you're weak. It's that I'm just too strong. Have you ever met anyone else as powerful as me? Lan Nguyet lowered her head in thought, then admitted. You're right. Before I met you, I barely had any rivals. I was even confident I could surpass Director Liu within 5 years. He gave her a few more instructions and then turned to leave. If you're okay, I'm going to get some rest. I haven't slept all night. The day after tomorrow, early in the morning, meet me in the forest outside the city. I'll take you through some recovery training. Don't be late. The scene shifts quickly, revealing a vast, lush green forest. A mutant hound charged forward with a ferocious growl. Lan Nguyet reacted instantly, delivering a decisive kick. The mutant hound yelped in pain, its body sent flying. He watched from the sidelines, smiling. See, I told you you were strong. He continued. This mutant wolf was at the peak of the Valiant Selection 3rd realm, yet you sent it flying with a single kick. Your current strength must have reached the Valiant Selection 4th realm. Lan Nguyet turned her face away and replied curtly, I don't need you to flatter me. I know my own level. He sighed helplessly. All right. The recovery training is almost done. We should probably get going. A sudden, loud explosion cut him off mid-sentence. Both of them were startled and went on guard. She blurted out in confusion. An explosion. The system's voice echoed in his mind. Extremely powerful dark attribute spirit energy detected. Host, please be careful. He scanned the surroundings and said, This wasn't a normal explosion. There's dark spirit energy running rampant deep in the forest. Lan Nguyet was stunned. What? Elsewhere in the same forest, a group of people were resting at their campsite. The atmosphere seemed quite relaxed. Kwangvu put his arm around Hudong and leaned in close. Hudong, later I'll catch a big fish and grill a huge skewer just for you. She immediately pushed his arm away and replied coldly, Who wants your grilled skewers? She turned to the girl in front of her and said, Tu yet, let me help you set up the tent. Seeing this, Kwangvu's friend chuckled. Hey Kwang, is Hudong giving you the cold shoulder? He frowned in annoyance and explained. She's just mad because I was checking out a pretty girl a few days ago. His clueless friend laughed loudly. Well, next time you flirt with someone, just make sure Hudong isn't watching. Kwang, his male pride kicking in, Kwangvu joined in the bragging. You have no idea how hot that girl was. His friend's curiosity was piqued. Wow, someone actually managed to captivate you. Kwang, I've got to meet her sometime. The moment he finished speaking, a hand grabbed his ear and twisted it hard. A cold voice rang out. You won't have it tomorrow. Tuyet dragged him away, scolding as she pulled him along. "Get over here and set up my tent. Now." He quickly tried to sweet-talk her. "Tuyet, I was just kidding. You know I love you, right?" Seeing that, Kwangvu turned away in disgust. "Whatever. I'll just go get some firewood first." With that, he went deeper into the forest, bending down to gather firewood to bring back. On his way back, he suddenly stopped, as if he had just noticed something strange. Before him was a dark spiritual treasure blooming on the ground. Kwangvu stared in a daze. "What is this?" Just then, he recalled a news report he had seen. The World United Council had just announced that Earth was officially entering an era of spiritual energy revival. According to the report, opportunities to gain spiritual energy were appearing all over the world. Thinking about those words, he stared at the flower for too long, and his eyes gradually became glazed over. Immediately after, he remembered Fai's seductive figure and, in a frenzy, lunged forward, screaming, "This is my power." He clenched his fists, his eyes burning with insane ambition. "This is the power that will make me a king. A heaven-sent opportunity, Lam Thien. I will definitely crush you under my foot." Kwangvu growled as he devoured it greedily. "I'll turn you into a stray dog in front of that woman, just like you were in front of Hu Dong." Mid-chew, his body suddenly froze, every muscle tensing up as if something was invading it. A piercing scream immediately followed, accompanied by a sudden, violent burst of power. The overflowing power distorted Kwangvu's face, veins popping out everywhere. He let out a grotesque laugh. "This is power. This feeling is absolutely incredible." While he was still reveling in the pleasure, a sudden cry for help rang out. "Help me." Not far away, Hu Dong's group was tightly surrounded by a pack of mutated wolves. Just as a wolf lunged, Kwangvu appeared in the nick of time, sending it flying with a single kick before asking, "Are you okay?" Hu Dong cried out in panic, "Kwang, be careful. That's a whole pack of wolves." He was overflowing with confidence, easily knocking them away one by one, and said firmly, "Don't worry, in front of me. This pack of wolves is nothing but a bunch of ants." Watching him, Hu Dong was completely stunned, her mind filled with questions. What's happening? Why did Kwangvu suddenly get so strong? Is this even humanly possible? While she was still dazed, a comment from Kwangvu's friend snapped her out of it. "Holy crap! Kwang's become a spiritual cultivator like they said in the news." Right, Hu Dong was shocked, thinking to herself, "What? So this is a cultivator. I never imagined they were this incredible." Realizing this, she bit her lip, silently scheming to herself, "A man this powerful must belong to me, Hu Dong." At the same time, in another part of the forest, it was unusually quiet. Lam Thien led the way, warning in a low voice, "Be careful. We're getting very close to the source of the dark spiritual energy." Lan Nguyet nodded slightly. "I can feel it too." Suddenly, he noticed a disturbance and whispered, "Wait a second." Instantly, he pulled her up into the branches of a nearby tree. As soon as they were settled, a dense pack of mutated wolves appeared below them. Seeing the unusual situation, Lan Nguyet frowned and asked, "What's going on? Did this pack run into something?" One of the wolves in the pack was injured, and a strange black smoke was rising from its wound. Seeing that, he narrowed his eyes slightly and muttered, "That's a wound caused by dark attribute spiritual energy." Realizing the severity of the situation, she turned to ask, "Should we report this to Director Liu?" He considered it for a moment, then replied, "Let's investigate it thoroughly first, if needed. Director Liu will send people." Suddenly, he gathered strength in his legs, preparing to jump down. Lam Thien landed in front of the wolf pack, his voice cold. "I made a promise to Commander Tam. I can't let you creatures rampage into the city." Immediately after, he raised his hand, rapidly gathering power, and uttered a single, sharp command, "Die." A ball of energy shot out, wiping out the entire wolf pack in a single blow. After dealing with them, he turned back and called out, "Let's go." The two of them continued forward, but he stopped short at the sight before them. This is... She immediately realized someone was camping here. Just as his guard was down, Kwang Vu suddenly appeared from behind and launched a sneak attack. Lan Nguyen reacted instantly, raising a shield to block the blow for him and shouting, "Watch out," seeing her protect him. Kwang Vu felt a flash of jealousy. This girl is pretty and strong, just like the last one. Damn it, how does this kid know so many beautiful women? He pulled back his hand, stuffed it in his pocket, and landed on the ground with a smirk. "Hey, little lady, not bad moves. How about I buy you a drink later?" Lan Nguyen eyed him warily. "Who are you? And why did you attack Lam Thien?" Kwang Vu didn't hide it, answering directly, "Because I have a grudge against him, so I have to teach him a lesson." She scoffed coldly in response. "A lesson? If I hadn't noticed in time, I'm afraid you would have killed him." That was no simple attack. As soon as she finished speaking, he stepped forward, his expression darkening as he asked directly, "Kwang Vu, you consumed the dark spiritual treasure to become a cultivator, didn't you?" Lan Nguyet's face paled. "What?" Kwang Vu let out a loud, boastful laugh. "That's right, I'm a powerful cultivator now." After getting his confirmation, Lam Thien pressed on. "You were the one who drove off the wolf pack just now, weren't you? Do you have any idea how many innocent people would have died if those wolves had entered the city?" Kwang Vu replied indifferently. "I'm a cultivator now. I don't need to care about the lives of the trash beneath me." Hearing his disregard for life, Lan Nguyen angrily started to speak, but he raised a hand to stop her. His eyes grew cold. There's no need to talk to him anymore. What he needs right now isn't a lesson. It's a fist, seeing how decisively he spoke. The man burst out laughing in amusement. "Excellent, Lam Thien. So you finally stopped being a coward." He took a step forward, his voice full of provocation. "Let me show you what a real cultivator is." Power erupted from his body as his aura surged, and his crazed laughter echoed throughout the forest. He also lowered his center of gravity, his own presence spreading out as his entire body entered a state ready for battle. Sensing his opponent's spiritual energy, he silently assessed him. At most, this is only the second stage of the Valiant Spring realm. It seems that, after the spiritual energy revival, a single piece of fruit is enough to cause a person to advance by leaps and bounds. While he was still calculating, the man had already used his speed and strength to charge at him from behind with a ferocious move. He reacted instantly, raising his arm to block the kick. The impact was heavy, but he stood his ground. Finding an equal match, Kwang Vu laughed heartily and praised him. "Not bad. It looks like you've got some power too." He looked back with a cold gaze, his voice laced with provocation. "Is this all the power you have? Being looked down upon like that?" He roared in anger. "You're courting death." Immediately after, he unleashed a relentless barrage of punches at him, but every single blow was blocked. He yelled in frustration as he fought. "How is this possible? How can you take all of my attacks?" He replied calmly, his voice flat. "You're too weak, Kwang Vu." He adjusted his stance, preparing to counterattack, his voice dripping with contempt. "If you weren't a cultivator, facing me would be an impossible dream." As soon as the words left his mouth, he threw a punch straight at his face, his voice ringing out again. "And since you are a cultivator, facing me makes you nothing more than a speck of dust in the vast sky." He was knocked to the ground, his heart filled with unwillingness as he trembled and stammered. How is this possible?" The people with him saw this and cried out in panic. "Brother Kwang, are you okay, Brother Kwang?" Doubt stirred in Hu Dong's heart. She couldn't understand when Lam Thien had become strong enough to defeat Kwang Vu. He gritted his teeth, his heart filled with resentment. Damn it, if I had known this earlier, I wouldn't have confronted Lam Thien so soon. After taking down his opponent, he turned to Lan Nguyen and instructed her. "Take all of them back for a thorough interrogation. see if anyone else has had any fortuitous encounters. She immediately took out her communication device and replied, "Got it. I'll notify Director Liu to lock down this mountain right away." In the distance, Kwangvu lay on the ground, his heart filled with venomous hatred. "I actually lost to Lam Thien. That bastard. It's impossible." Just then, a strange voice echoed in his head. "Do you desire power?" The voice repeated itself over and over. "Do you desire power?" When the voice finally stopped, the scenery around him suddenly changed. Before Kwangvu's eyes was a dark figure sitting high up as if on a throne, leaving him stunned. This is... The dark figure had the aura of a demon king from a novel and called himself the Dark Monarch. Kwangvu didn't hesitate for a second. He immediately begged, "I want power. I want invincible power. As long as I can crush Lam Thien, I'm willing to pay any price." The Dark Monarch said nothing more, simply firing a beam of power directly from his fingertip. The stream of power pierced straight through the center of Kwangvu's forehead. His eyes gradually turned completely white, and the veins on his face bulged violently. A moment later, he felt the power flooding his body and cried out in satisfaction. "Power. This is the power I wanted. This feeling is incredible." Back in reality, Lan Nguyet, still unaware of what had happened, stepped forward and said to them, "All right. You're all coming with me to the Cultivator Association to explain yourselves." The moment she finished speaking, Kwangvu suddenly unleashed the power he had just received. He immediately rushed to shield her, shouting a warning. "Be careful!" A massive wave of dark energy swirled and grew, enveloping Kwangvu's entire body. The trees within its range quickly withered, their life force drained away. Even his own companions were forced back by the wave of power, crying out in fear. "Brother Kuang, what's happening?" Tu Yet and Hu Dong trembled in fear, pleading over and over. I don't want to die." He and Lan Nguyet were far enough away to be unaffected. He watched the scene with a grim expression, thinking to himself that Commander Tom's words had indeed been correct. Only she, still not understanding the situation, was panicking, wondering what on earth was going on as the dark energy completely enveloped him. Kwangvu slowly rose into the air, and a strange voice emerged from him. At last, the Dark Monarch stepped out of the shadows, his posture as casual as if he were on a stroll. He let out a sigh of exclamation, his tone cold yet filled with pleasure. "I have returned to this wonderful world once again." Seeing him, Lan Nguyet immediately tensed up, her eyes filled with confusion. What's happening? How could he jump straight from the second stage of the Valiant Spring Realm to the fourth stage in an instant? Lam Thien spoke up, his voice full of caution. "Be careful. The thing in front of us is definitely not the person you once knew." At that exact moment, the system's sound chimed. Detected low-level Dark-type monster. Dark Monarch. Immediately after, the system panel displayed a clear mission notification. Temporary quest issued: defeat the Dark Monarch. Reward: a new spiritual attribute. Cultivation pill. Accepting the quest. He felt a sense of unease rise within him. He had never encountered this type of monster in his entire life, and had absolutely no idea what kind of attack methods it would use. While he was still calculating, the Dark Monarch looked down at his body with contempt. "This human flesh is too weak, not enough to help me create a complete form." He glanced at the two people before him, his voice deepening. "The spiritual energy of these two humans is very strong. If I can devour them, most of my power will be restored." With that, he locked onto his target and lunged, deciding to strike, starting with the girl who looked weaker. He would devour her first. The arrows he fired tore through the wind, all of them aimed straight for Lan Nguyet, rushing toward her without a moment's hesitation. His eyes immediately flashed, his focus sharpening in that brief instant. He leaped in front of her, channeling his strength into a powerful slash, directly destroying the incoming arrow. Seeing that reaction, the Dark Monarch looked intrigued and offered some praise. "Oh, not bad. A young man who can skillfully block my attack." He didn't answer, but asked back, "What in the world are you, and where is Kuang Vu?" He sneered arrogantly, his voice dripping with contempt. "You are not worthy of knowing who I am. Humans only need to understand one thing: submit to me or die." Hearing that confidence, his expression grew cold, his aura turning dangerous. "It seems if I don't teach you a lesson, you won't learn how to speak properly." Hearing this, the Dark Monarch treated it as a joke and burst out laughing. What an interesting human, to actually dare think of teaching me a lesson. He wasted no more words, directly activating his dark space to initiate the fight, deciding to let him taste ultimate darkness and understand true fear. The dark space swirled and surged forward, enveloping him as if to swallow him whole. Lan Nguyen cried out in panic, "Lam Thien!" She rushed toward the sphere of space imprisoning him. Her steps hurried, not daring to slow down. As soon as she reached the dark space, she immediately focused her power and struck it directly. The stream of power focused on a single point on the sphere, aiming to break it and free him. But the result was completely useless. The Dark Monarch watched her efforts and mocked. "It's useless. An attack of this level could never break it. Stop resisting, and just obediently let me devour you." Suddenly, right at the spot she had just attacked, a firm hand reached out from a newly formed tier in the space. Seeing that arm, the Dark Monarch's eyes widened, his shock clearly visible. Immediately after, a series of slashes appeared one after another, tearing open the surface of the dark space. A tearing sound echoed as the dark space shattered. He stepped out unharmed and jeered. "Was that all you've got?" Even though his space was broken, he remained unfazed, his cold voice ringing out, "Fool. Do you think just by breaking this seal, you can fight against me?" Lan Nguyen ran over and quickly suggested, "Lam Thien, let's face him together." He immediately refused, his voice firm, "No need. You stay right here and don't move. I want to see just how far my full power can go." Hearing that, she was stunned and confused. Full power? What does he mean? He didn't explain, instead directly unleashing his full power as his answer. "This is what I mean." Immediately after, he shot straight toward the Dark Monarch, attacking without a hint of hesitation. He was so fast the Monarch couldn't react. He could only watch as Lam Thien's hand reached for his face. Next came a colossal pillar of power, blasting directly at the Dark Monarch. Following that beam of light, a massive explosion erupted, violently shaking the ground all around. The Dark Monarch, buried in the rubble, roared unwillingly. "To think that I would be pinned to the ground by a weak human." He looked at him with a cold gaze and asked, "Scared yet?" Those words enraged him. He gathered all his strength and charged forward, roaring, "You wretched human dare to look down on me. You're courting death." He launched an attack straight at him, screaming, "Die." Lam Thien stood still without dodging, his gaze calm as he watched the attack close in, bit by bit. The moment it got close, he raised one hand, thunder and fire erupted, and his power directly stopped the blow. That sight left the Dark Monarch stunned. He gritted his teeth, screaming inwardly, "Impossible." He blocked it without taking any damage, seeing the change in his expression. He let out a mocking laugh. "Is that fear I see on your face now? It seems you're not even worthy of making me use my full power. I'm truly disappointed." Just as he said, the Monarch began to tremble, instinctively backing away. This guy is not normal. His current strength surpasses even mine. With that thought, he immediately turned to flee, a panicked thought echoing in his mind. "No, I absolutely cannot die here. I must devour more humans, seize even greater power, and then return to kill him for revenge." Realizing his intent to escape, he narrowed his eyes, his cold voice ringing out, "Did I say you could leave?" The moment he spoke, Raging thunder descended, dense lightning striking the monarch's body directly. The dark monarch was engulfed by a thunderstorm, racked with overwhelming pain as its body was continuously battered. Unable to bear it any longer, he split into a single bat and fled in a wretched state, leaving the rest of his body to be torn apart. Watching the bat fly away, he clicked his tongue and muttered, so he'd abandon almost his entire body just to survive. As the battle ended, Lan Nguyen saw him land and rushed over, asking worriedly, "Lam Thien, are you okay?" He replied calmly, "I'm fine. Not a scratch on me. But a part of that dark monster escaped. We need to contact Chief Lu immediately." She quickly responded, "Got it." The scene changes to a large city under a gloomy sky, where a weather forecast echoes from a speaker due to an incoming cold front. Our city will experience heavy rain this afternoon. The Meteorological Bureau has issued a red alert for heavy rain. Everyone is advised to limit outdoor activities. Besides the weather forecast, a voice from a TV commercial blares out, "Hey everyone, I'm telling you, something big is definitely going down this afternoon later. I'm gonna put on a show for you all and get struck by lightning for clout." Meanwhile, on a deserted street, a girl walked along, complaining irritably, "What the heck, it's obviously all his fault. We already made plans to hang out today, so why would he cancel just because of a little rain?" As she was grumbling, a strange sound suddenly came from behind her. Startled, she spun around and shouted, "Who's there?" It was then she realized she was lost, looking around in confusion. Where am I? Seizing the opportunity, a dark creature lunged out, heading straight for her, just as it closed in, ready to strike. A bolt of lightning descended from the sky, instantly obliterating the dark creature. Then, a familiar voice rang out. "Didn't you listen to the news today?" He hovered in midair, watching the swarm of dark creatures, and calmly advised the girl, "Go home immediately. It's very dangerous out here. The weather hasn't cleared up, so don't come outside until an all clear is given." But she didn't seem to hear a word he said, her eyes fixated on him in a daze. "So handsome. He's so handsome." Ignoring her, he reached into his pocket and took out his phone. Lam Thien put the phone to his ear and asked in a low voice, "Lan Nguyen, what's the situation?" The voice on the other end quickly replied, "That dark creature that escaped. The situation is much more difficult to handle than we thought. It seems that dark monster has split itself into countless bats, and they've started attacking people indiscriminately throughout the city.